I'm going to call the BZA meeting to order. If you haven't signed in on the clipboard on the side, please do so before you leave here today. The other thing is, make sure that all electronic devices are silenced so that it doesn't interrupt the recording of our hearing today. And the other housekeeping item is, if you would please leave by the same door that you came in so you can turn your temporary ID badges in so that they're not trying to locate you at the end of the day in the building. So with that, are you legal counsel for?
I'm going to speak on behalf of Mr. Bogoslav.
Okay, go ahead and come to the table and have a seat. We'll go ahead and do that after Mr. Dixon introduces the file. Mr. Dixon, could you go ahead and introduce the file for us, please?
All right, case 6476, a request for conditional use for a commercial kennel for 10 dogs or less and multiple variances. The site is located at 1309 Pinch Valley Road, Westminster, Maryland, on property zone A, Agricultural District and Election District 7 by Michael Bogoslavich.
Bogoslavsky.
Okay. Code of Public Local Laws and Ordinances, Section 158.002, 158.040, and 158.174 AC. The site visit is tentatively scheduled for November 15th, 2023 at approximately 9:15 a.m. In the file of this matter, we have the following documents. Okay, there's a November 24, 2023 email from Tracy Michelle or Michelle Tracy. Opposition to variance for kennel at 1309 Pinch Valley Road. She's concerned about this case. The potential approval of this variance, coupled with the known disturbances caused by the petitioner's existing dogs, raises significant concerns about the impact on our residential neighborhood. She knows many others in the community feel the same way. In addition to the previously mentioned concerns, residential areas typically adhere to a daytime noise level of 65 decibels. With an even more stringent standard of 55 decibels at night. Granting this variance could introduce noise levels far beyond what is considered acceptable for a peaceful residential community. Furthermore, the petitioner is already known within the community for the disturbances caused by his current dogs, which persist at all hours of the day and night. This pattern of behavior is a clear violation of the peace and tranquility that residents rightfully expect in a residential setting. There is a November 27, 2023 email from Jean Leister. Strong opposition to variance for kennel at 1309 Pinch Valley Road. Similar email. There's a November 18th, 2023 letter from Rebecca Kafori. Opposition to variance. Changes for kennel at 1309 Pinch Valley Road. There are several reasons why I believe approving this variance would be a mistake. Noise and disturbance, odor and sanitation, safety and security, violation of zoning regulations. This variance could lead to a decrease in property values and quality of life for residents. There's a to whom it may concern letter from that we received November 27, 2023 from I see a KNEWLLR. We currently hear dogs all the time now. It is very disturbing to all the surrounding neighbors. He is already running it illegally, so you just reward bad behavior if you approve this. People's lives at their homes should not have to change. This is not a business district. There's a November 2nd, 2023 letter from a Christy Armstrong. I'm writing to you in regards to the commercial kennel license for my neighbor. My late husband and I moved to this neighborhood for its quiet, open atmosphere. I am against this being granted. My children catch the bus close to this address, and it makes me uneasy knowing that these dogs are there and that more cars coming down our small roads. I do not believe businesses like this should be allowed in our residence. There's a letter that was received November 27, 2023 from Virginia and Brian Zawacki. They have similar key concerns: noise and disturbance, odor and sanitation, safety and security, violation of zoning regulations. There is a November 26, 2023 email. November 26, 2023 email from Jennifer Airy. It's a lengthy email. It's got photographs, multiple pages. It's in opposition to the request. There's site minutes for this case. There is a November 14, 2023 letter from Jennifer Hoff. There is no peace and quiet here anymore. The petitioner has no regard for the neighbors. His application for a commercial kennel license and variances to expand his business further validates that claim, and quite frankly, it is alarming to me as there are 17 children that get on public school buses near his driveway. With numerous dogs on his property, each dog out of its normal environment being trained with behavioral modification by a stranger, the potential for a devastating altercation between a child and an anxious dog is incredibly high. I am fearful about the injury a child could sustain in such an altercation, should one of the dogs in training escape the fence. My own grandchildren come to my house to visit, and I do not want to constantly be on high alert while they play outside simply out of fear of the possibility of a vicious dog attack. The neighborhood is one of the last high-quality residential areas in Westminster. We love it here. Our visitors love it here. It is already marred by the constant barking at the petitioner's residence. A November 15th, 2023 letter from Robin M. Robinson. Person's lived here for 12 years, and over the last 2 or 3 years on a daily basis for an extended periods of time during the day have been treated to dogs that sound like they are killing each other. We are talking about at least a half dozen different dogs that I could make out barking at the same time. There could have been more. This went on for months, and just recently the dogs have been more under control and we don't hear the same volume. My concern is once the conditional use is granted, the controls will be off and we will return to the same mayhem we were treated to before. I don't live that close. I can only imagine what it sounded like to the folks that live closer. There is we received it November 20th, 2023 from Joyce King. During the time he has lived here, he has had numerous dogs. He has at least 4 to 5 dogs living on his property now. We, the neighbors, have called the Humane Society on several occasions due to the noise. I believe he was cited for too many dogs. I am sure they could provide reports. Our small neighborhood on a common private drive is home to 5 families. The common private drive is maintained by the homeowners and is only wide enough for one vehicle as we have to go into the yards to pass each other or back up. Having a commercial kennel will create more traffic and damage to the common private drive. We are also concerned for our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who play in the front yards and our common private drive. Having a commercial kennel at the end of the common private drive would create a considerable amount of noise and worry in our very quiet, peaceful neighborhood. Person 76 years old. A November 10th, 2023 letter from Joan Hoff Redmond, retired health benefits manager at Carroll County Government. His business in particular presents certain appalling circumstances and possibilities. The most obvious one is that of safety. Dogs do escape. It's just a matter of time until one of his canine attack dogs will escape. Untrained or partially trained or inappropriately trained dogs pose serious threats to the families and the many young children residing in this residential area. Safety measures can be breached. Canine law enforcement officers and other canine trainers will attest to that. He cannot guarantee adherence to that law, a law about controlling dogs. He does not have his dogs attended in 24/7. All right, there's a November 14th, 2023 letter from Christopher Hahn, Secretary to the Planning Commission. After having reviewed the information contained in the attached analysis, the facts as presented in the application, the relevant portions of the plan, and in accordance with the provisions set forth in the land use article, this conditional use request, if granted, is consistent with the policies, timing of the implementation of the plan, timing of development, timing of rezoning, development patterns, land uses, and densities or intensities. There is a November 13th, 2023 memo from Randolph Mitchell, planning technician. The above referenced BZA case has been reviewed for consistency with the policies and recommendations contained in the 2014 Carroll County Master Plan as amended in 2019, the Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan, and other functional plans. Planning staff finds this request for conditional use and variance is consistent with the 2014 Carroll County Master Plan as amended in 2019 and would not have an adverse effect on the current use of the property. There is a response to Joe Vance's request from Dawn Kenna, Humane Society Animal Control Officer Dispatch. Warning for barking in 2022 and 2021. He was bitten by his dog 7/12/2022. Unfounded welfare check in 2021. 7 dogs current with county license. There's a letter from the Bakers. We received it November 13th, 2023. Eliminating outside runs is the most effective option for preventing kennel noise from disturbing nearby neighbors. Is the owner planning to remove outdoor runs from their kennel? Are the owners installing and maintaining any abatement measures? If the dogs are not allowed outside, then will the building be designed to prevent barking from being heard outside? Nearby neighbors have reported excessive noise before the owner has owned a kennel license. Will noise be even more disturbing once a kennel license is issued? What kind of dogs will be in this kennel? Would they be trained in tactical matters of attack? Our neighborhood is full of small children and dogs. How can the owner guarantee safety of our family members? What steps are in place to prevent dog escapes and dog bites? This will affect the tranquility of our neighborhood if we cannot use our streets and community field in fear of a dog attack and/or excessive noise. I know the impact of dog kennels in residential neighborhoods has been studied, and there is a large body of research showing that excessive noise reduces property values, which does directly affect the neighbors of the owner requesting a kennel license. All right, there's another letter. We received it November 6, 2023. Somebody was born in Westminster, 68 years old, opposition to the kennel. Let's see, the name is Eugene and Renee Brewer. Somebody, let me see here. And they provided a spreadsheet of barking times to the Humane Society. All right, hearing notice was posted in the newspaper October 30th, 2023. There is a response to Joe Vance's request to various state and local agencies from Janet O'Meara, Bureau Chief, Resource Management. She provided an attachment. There is a response to Joe Vance's request from Jay Voigt, Zoning Administrator. See attached zoning investigation. So there's a zoning investigation for this case. There's a response to Joe Vance's request from Thomas Harris, Permits and Inspections. Permit RD 230694, listed as applied, shall be obtained if the board approves this case. There's a response to Joe Vance's request to various state and local agencies from Andrea Hanley, Carroll County Environmental Health Department. Proposed use may not be acceptable unless it is demonstrated that there is an adequate water supply and adequate area for the installation of an initial and 2 replacement septic systems for the proposed use in any existing uses of this property. There is a response to Joe Vance's request to various state and local agencies from Laura Matthias, Bureau Chief, Development Review. A site development plan shall be required in accordance with Chapter 155. Contact the Bureau of Development Review at, she gives the phone number. Hearing notice was posted October 20th, 2023 by Scott Robinson, Inspector. There is a response to Joe Vance's request from J.P. Smith Jr., Program Manager, Ag Land Preservation Program. This property is not in ag preservation. I have no comments at this time. And then there is the application for 10 dogs or less and multiple variances. The zoning administrator's report is in here. I'm not gonna go through the whole report, I'll just read it. April 5th, 2023 letter from Scott Robinson, Inspector. This office has received a complaint that a commercial kennel and training facility is being run from your property, which is zoned agricultural. Commercial kennels in the agricultural district are permitted as a conditional use, which requires Board of Zoning approval. Gives the relevant portions of the code. Research has revealed that you are the registered agent for Frontline K9 LLC, a company formed for the purpose of, among other things, engaging in the business of dog obedience training, boarding training, doggy daycare, boarding, and breeding of dogs. You may apply to the BZA for conditional use approval. There's other things involved in the investigation. I would ask that the file be entered into evidence.
So moved.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to move the file into evidence. All those in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries, and we will enter that into evidence. There's a lot of new faces out there in the audience. Let me try to explain the process that we're going to use here today, as we do with all of our hearings. The applicant will have the ability to, or will have the opportunity for legal counsel for opening comments, and then he can call witnesses. And after each witness testifies, you in the audience can ask questions of their testimony. Well, pay attention. Questions of their testimony only. After the applicant is finished calling witnesses, I promise you, anyone in the audience can go to the microphone and provide their own testimony. But again, when the applicant is giving testimony, you can only ask questions of their testimony. So that's the procedure we're going to use here this morning. Because it was a zoning violation and Mr. Voigt is in attendance here, I'm going to call Mr. Voigt to the microphone first so that he can tell us how we got to this point. But if you intend to testify here today, I'd like to ask you to stand. Please stand and raise your right hand and take the oath. No, your legal counsel, you're just like a court of law, you don't have to swear. Okay. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good. You can be seated. And the other thing I want to stress is anytime you go to the microphone, please state your name, your address, and occupation, and spell for the record your last name so that we don't get it wrong in the record. So with that, Mr. Voigt, could you tell us how we've gotten to this point, sir?
Certainly. For the record, my name is Jay Voigt. It's spelled V-O-I-G-H-T. I'm the Carroll County Zoning Administrator, and my address is 225 North Center Street, Westminster, Maryland, 21157. We are here today, back in 2022, we received a complaint of dogs in a kennel being run on Mr. Bogolasi's property. We went out to the property, we talked to the property owner, and at that time, we were talking to him, and he had said that he wasn't running a commercial kennel, that they were his dogs and everything. So Basically, it came down to that we had no proof at that time, so we closed the case out. Another case was opened in 2023 after another complaint was received. And that complaint was received on April 5th of 2023. And the complaint, once again, was the owners running a commercial kennel business and canine training facility from the property without BZA approval. Animal control is also involved with the owner for the barking dogs. As for the barking dogs, that is a animal control issue, and zoning has nothing to do with that part of the case. We basically informed the property owner that what he needed to do was apply to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a commercial kennel, which is why we're here today. We had, like I say, numerous complaints during this whole time about the business being run, noise from the dogs, and the disruption it was causing in the neighborhood. Property owner finally applied for the BZA approval for today, and that's why we are here today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Voigt. And board members, any questions of Mr. Voigt's?
I have a question. When you went back in April, originally he said he was not running a kennel, but when you went back in April, was he then running a kennel?
We had found evidence at that point that indicated that there was a kennel being run there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Did he admit that he was running a kennel?
He stated that he was training dogs, canine dogs, for both police and private security and other issues for various disciplines, drug dogs, bomb dogs, and stuff of that nature. He admitted to us at that time that he was running that training facility, which by our code and definition is a commercial kennel.
And I'm sorry, at that time, how many dogs were there?
I- Ten dogs.
Mr. Voigt, in the code 158-.174 says the minimum area for a commercial kennel for 10 dogs or fewer shall be 5 acres. When did that change? Do you know?
That changed in December of '22.
December of 22. Okay. Any other questions, board members? Okay, thank you, Mr. Voigt. Are you going to be here for the duration?
Yes, I will.
Very good. We may call on you again.
It's-
Okay. Please identify yourself, and
Yep.
and I'm assuming you're the legal counsel for the applicant?
Actually, I just want to clarify, I'm not legal counsel, I'm just going to speak on his behalf. You know, I'm somebody that's known Michael Boguslavsky since 2005. I went on 2 combat tours with Mr. Boguslavsky in the military.
Okay,
Does he need to be sworn in?
Yeah, that's why I got up.
sorry. I assumed that you were legal counsel for him. So if you would please rise and take the oath. You were correct, I was wrong. My assumptions were wrong. Do you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, very good. And again, go ahead and state your name, address, and occupation.
My name is Anthony Jackson, Jackson. I'm an operations manager for a company called Circuit.
Okay, very good. So would you like to provide testimony?
Address?
Oh, my address is 701 Monroe Street, Northeast, Washington, D.C., 20017.
Okay. So would you like to go ahead and provide testimony here today, or opening comments, or?
I'm going to read what Mr. Boguslavsky has written for everybody, so we can start out with that, and then I will give testimony as well, sir.
Okay, very good. You can proceed.
Thank you. I'm going to read it as Mr. Boguslavsky. To whom it may concern, I am writing to explain my experience acquiring a commercial kennel license. Specifically, I am a private kennel applying for a commercial kennel license. I don't receive money for training. I went through the appropriate channels to obtain commercial kennel licensing as instructed by Mr. J. Voigt, zoning administrator, and Mr. Scott Robinson, zoning inspector. My wife and I purchased 1309 Pinch Valley 3 years ago and fell in love with our new home and neighbors. Additionally, the acreage offered the opportunity to find and provide training for police canine officers, military, and civilians, so I began the process and paid the $400 fee. On December 17, 2021, Ms. Jo Vance emailed me saying, "I do not need to apply to the Board of Zoning and Appeals for a private kennel, for a commercial kennel. You are good to continue as you are." On December 23, 2021, she followed up with the reimbursement confirmation stating, "I am putting a refund of the $400 in the mail today." After being refunded the $400, I began constructing my kennel. I took out a loan of $30,000 for private use kennels and paid a contractor $5,000 to build it. However, zoning placed a stop order on the building, claiming I was running an illegal kennel. Mr. Voigt even stated that I can't train dogs for free on my property. He and Mr. Scott Robinson have also accused me of running an illegal kennel, which is untrue. I have taught group training at clients' homes and held classes at Fieldstone Animal Inn. Brandon Holiday, owner of Red, White, and Blue Canine, shared, "Michael is helping others within the community with issues with their dogs, providing free training to law enforcement officers, and helping other vets in need." I sent 2 canine donations to the 5th Special Forces Group and Task Force 1 FEMA USAR. This entire process has been a nightmare, to say the least. Animal control has been called repeatedly to my home for barking. I was verbally threatened with a daily fine if I didn't apply for a commercial kennel license, even though I'm not required to have a commercial kennel license because I'm private. I understand that consistent barking is problematic, and while I took measures to ensure my dogs didn't bark incessantly, I also purchased bark collars. I am a combat veteran who served several deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, during which I've experienced a great deal of life-threatening stress, where my combat skills were regularly tested. I struggled with PTSD, yet throughout this, I have made conscious strides toward recovery through working with training, police, military canines. My deep compassion for animals is visible in the quality of dogs I produce. By the grace of God, I've supplied canines to the Pennsylvania Police Department, FEMA, and Special Forces. I'm respected and loved by my employers and colleagues. I have always wanted to work with animals in this way. I want to continue contributing to society as a civilian. Thank you for your work for the citizens of Carroll County and for ensuring partially is maintained. I pray that you will consider my plea. Enclosed are copies of emails and letters of good standing. Do you want me to read them out?
Yes. Are you going to enter those into evidence?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You go ahead and read those, and then after you've completed reading them, go ahead and give those to Mr. Dixon, and we will enter those into evidence.
Yes, sir. So, to whom it may concern, I, Tony Clark of Maryland, and a member of the Baltimore Police Department, currently in good standing, hold Michael Boguslavsky in high regard. I have known Michael for almost a year and a half. Michael is a pillar in the police and military community. He has assisted in training many police and the Army canine dogs for multiple local and outer jurisdiction agencies. I've only known him to adopt and train canines for the police and military. I've also received a puppy from Michael, which he donated to me so that it might work in policing and security. If Michael could not operate as a breeder and trainer, it would hinder future canines and canine breeders. I appreciate your time and patience with this matter. Sincerely, Tony Clark of the Baltimore Police Department. There's an email about to reference the BZA application, which we're going to submit as well, stating that I got good morning from Jo Vance. I got news that you no longer need to apply to the BZA for a private kennel. You're good to continue as you are. I will be getting a check cut to refund your application fee. That will take over a week, but I will mail the check to you when I get it. Best, Jo Vance.
Mr. Jackson, what was the date of that?
That was December 17th, 2021.
Okay, thank you.
That's when Jo Vance, again, emailed December 23, 2021. Hello, Michael. I'm putting your refund check for $400 in the mail today. Please let me know if you don't receive it by the end of the week. Best wishes for Christmas and the New Year. Jo Vance. And then at this point, I think Mr. Boguslavsky tried to email back, and it says the message is blocked. Or tried to email S. Robinson. I have another letter of support from Mrs. Paris Olday. I am writing this letter on behalf of Michael Boguslavsky, who I usually call Bogo. I have known Mr. Boguslavsky for several years, and we met through training canines. Quickly, we became friends, given our backgrounds in canine, the military, and law enforcement, and our desire to serve the community through canines. My background, I was injured in the line of duty as a police officer working on the Eastern Shore Salisbury Police Department. Due to my injury and medical complication, I lost my leg below the knee, moved home to Philadelphia area, and worked as an investigator for the courts. But I wanted to do more, so I created my company Red, White, and Blue Canine Services, specifically to hire injured first responders and military to work in canine detection. Our motto is, helping America's hero serve again. Because of our backgrounds and desire to continue serving, we had an instant bond. He is someone I call brother. Throughout knowing Bogo, he has displayed all the qualities you would want. He's leading by example, helping others within the community with issues with their dogs, providing free training to law enforcement officers, and helping other vets in need. He served honorably as a combat wounded veteran and still has a passion to desire to serve the community. Given our world today, having a person like Bogo, who I believe is a pillar within the community, having a positive impact on others, says something. Our dogs serve a purpose in serving the community, helping others, not just by providing security, but mentally through companionship. From experience, I can tell you that my service dog, Dyson, was my inspiration, and he provided me with the freedom I needed to recover after losing my leg. Bogo's dogs do the same, and he has helped me through the process as my company grows by donating a dog when I need an additional one. He doesn't have many, so to do something like that when you don't have to speaks volumes. I hope this letter, and if you have any concerns, please contact me via cell or email. Owner and operator Brandon Holliday has his information down here. This is from the Fieldstone Inn, December 4th, 2022. To whom it may concern, this letter is to confirm Michael Boguslavsky's work agreement with Fieldstone Animal Inn. Mr. Boguslavsky has taught group training classes and worked with dogs at our facility in Millersville, Maryland. He has also done private training at our clients' homes. He does not train for us at his home or any other location. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me directly. It has her phone number. And Anna Elizabeth Rattle. Dated November 20, 2023, support for Michael Boguslavsky's non-commercial canine services. Dear members of the Carroll County, Maryland Board of Zoning, I'm writing to express my enthusiastic support for Michael Boguslavsky and his invaluable contributions. It has come to my attention that there may be concerns regarding the classification of Michael's services as a commercial kennel. I would like to emphasize that Michael's work is far from the operations of a commercial kennel, and I believe he should be recognized as such. Michael's dedication to assisting law enforcement, various events, and organization with his exceptional canine expertise is truly commendable. As someone who coordinates his engagements, I have had the privilege of witnessing his unwavering commitment and selflessness. Michael willingly offers free advice and is available at any time to help fellow canine handlers without any monetary gain. His contributions, particularly in gun detection with his dogs, have been nothing short of extraordinary. His expertise has enhanced the security of our events and locations and has garnered the trust of NFL stadiums, which highlights the non-commercial nature of his services. What sets Michael apart is his selflessness in sharing his knowledge and resources. He does not charge for training on his property, which unequivocally distinguishes him from a commercial kennel. Furthermore, his generosity extends to donating dogs to different police departments, further reinforcing his dedication to our community's safety and well-being. I see no reason not to recognize that Michael Boguslavsky is not operating a commercial kennel, but it is a selfless, dedicated, and invaluable asset to your community. His tireless efforts are a source of inspiration to all of us who have privilege of working with him. His passion for his work, his commitment to helping others are the qualities that deserve acknowledgement and support. Respectfully, Lynn Powell, Director of Deployments, 3D Canine Detection, and then has her phone number on here. November 8th, 2023, to whom it may concern, I have known Michael Boguslavsky since March of 2022. He and I kept up communication via Facebook regarding Canine Rock. He donated Canine Rock to me so that I could utilize his skills for a company that I am in the process of starting. Michael Boguslavsky is an outstanding individual and an asset to the canine industry. He donates these canines who have tremendous skills and training so that individuals such as me can utilize and provide new homes for these retired canines. He truly is a blessing, and I look forward to many more years of friendship, both on a business and a personal level. Please feel free to reach out to me if I can be of further assistance. Has her phone number, sincerely, Shane Rubin. From Parabellum K9, dated November 1st, 2022. I just wanted to reach out and send our sincerest gratitude to Mr. Boguslavsky and the Frontline Canine organization for their donations, helping to put quality dogs in the right places. Your last 2 donations were trained here at Parabellum K9 and then subsequently sent to their new respective homes free of cost to their handlers. One of them ended up at the 5th Special Forces Group and another one in Task Force 1. We appreciate your partnership to ensure the quality of dogs are placed with quality handlers and at no cost to them. I personally look forward to continued collaborations and hope this letter finds you and your staff. We definitely look forward to your next breeding and top-notch dogs that come out of it. Have a great day. Signed, Philip Sands, and it has the phone number. And then my personal testimony, like I said, I've known Mr. Boguslavsky since 2005. We served in 2 combat tours together. You know, I really believe he is a stand-up person and is willing to comply with any rules and regulations that you know, he's looking to try to comply to these rules and regulations, and hopefully you guys can, you know, see that, and he's not trying to trying to cause a disturbance within the community.
Okay, do you need a water break?
Yeah.
Okay, you heard Mr. Jackson's testimony. Are there any questions from anyone in the audience of his testimony? And again, your testimony will come at a later time in the hearing. Anyone? Go ahead and go to the microphone. Remember, questions of his testimony. State your name, your address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
Jean DeCosmo. I live in Laurel Lane, Westminster, Maryland. I'm a nurse, still actively working after 4 decades or more. My question is,
Spell for the record your last name.
DeCosmo. My question is, do any of the folks that provided testimony live in the community at question?
No.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Jackson's testimony? Okay, seeing none. Board members, questions on Mr. Jackson's testimony?
I have to think about this for a minute. Yeah, I do have questions.
Okay, Mr. Caldwell.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I heard one of the letters that you read out, that they were referred to retired dogs. Is that correct?
Yes.
So they're retired from where?
The police department.
From the police
Wait a
department?
minute,
Yeah,
let him answer.
from the police department.
Okay, and why were they retired?
Their old age.
So why would they need further training?
He's doing drug detection with them with our private company.
Okay.
Mr. Boguslavsky, are you going to testify?
Yeah, I swore in, I can speak as well.
Okay, let's go ahead and save those questions for him, Mr.
All
Caldwell.
right, fair enough, thank you.
Okay.
Is he gonna put the letters in
Oh,
evidence?
yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Dixon, thank you. I saw you grinning over there. I was wondering what that was about. I couldn't read your mind. So if you could bring those forward, Mr. Jackson, and
Everything?
Audience wants to speak.
we will go ahead and enter those into evidence. And I saw a hand come up in the back. Do you have questions of? Yes, go to the microphone. Name, address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
James Leister, Leister, 1431 Pinch Valley Road, heavy equipment operator. I have a question about the use of firearms to train the dogs, and how is that allowed to shoot in in a neighborhood?
Again, I think that'll be a question for the applicant.
Right, there's no,
So let's wait until after his testimony, and you can answer that question.
okay.
Mr. Jackson, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that's in his bailiwick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Mr.
Boguslavsky.
Boguslavsky, why can I've got it written out phonetically and I still can't get it right. Okay, do you want to go ahead and provide testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and again, for the record, please state your name, address, and occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
Michael Boguslavsky, it's Boguslavski. Address is 1309 Pinch Valley Road, Westminster, Maryland. I'm retired military and I'm a canine handler. So, like in the statement where Mr. Jackson read, we moved here about 3 years ago, prior to the zoning, like when you were asking Mr. Voigt about the zoning changes for the acreage, because that was one thing I looked at as well. And it was only we had a sufficient acreage to have 10 dogs or less. That only changed, like he said, at the end of right at the end of 22. So at the time, they came out, they spoke with me, animal control came out, checked on the health and welfare of the animals, everything was good. My wife would go around, she would ask the neighbors if the noise is too much, let us know, I'll get bark collars, no problem. Everybody said everything was good, no problem. When I had training and I had officers come to the house, I would go to the neighbors and I'd tell them, hey, I'm gonna be having training today, right? And so, everybody was good, or so they said. Then animal control came out for barking. They gave me a warning. I put on bark collars. They came out, I guess, again for more complaints, but they never came to speak to me. I wound up going to speak to them, and they told me they didn't speak to me because there was no noise the whole time they were there. Not one dog was barking, and they were all outside. So anyway, I applied. I moved in. I was going to set up all the dogs out of my house are my personal dogs. And that's what we discussed with animal control and with zoning in the beginning. I said none of these dogs are being sold to anybody. If anything, I always donate a dog or two out of my, because per the law, when I was going per the law, it said you can have, for non-commercial, 2 breedings a year. And then you can train on your property as long as it's not for a fee. When I explained that to Mr. Voigt, he said, I don't care. This is what it is. This is what I'm telling you. You can't even train law enforcement at your house for free. I said, okay. And then they accused me of running an illegal commercial business, training people's pets, and this and that. I said, I'm not. I provided plenty of evidence stating that I'm not. Yes, I have a company called Frontline Canine because I work detection for the Philadelphia Eagles. I work detection and I do bomb and drug detection in schools all over Pennsylvania, Maryland, D.C., Virginia. So I travel, so I have to have my LLC because I'm a subcontractor, so I get paid by the 3D Canine Company and various agencies for me to go to their locations and work with my personal dogs. So they told me I was a private kennel. I didn't need to get a commercial kennel license. So I said, awesome. So they said, just like in the letters that he testified, they said, you can go ahead about your business. I said, perfect, because I didn't have any kennels set up. All my dogs are inside. I converted my garage into because it has heat and air and everything, so I put my dogs in there. And so I wanted to have an outside space where they're secure because right now they're on chains when I break them outside. and for safety of the public, safety of the community, and to keep my dogs in more secure area, I went and took a loan. I purchased $30,000 worth of kennels for the 10 kennel setup like they told me I can have. And I started building my deck. They said I needed a permit because it was a permanent structure. I said, no problem. I went in, I did the paperwork. Next thing you know, it's been forever, I don't hear a response. I contact Mr. Harris at permits. He told me zoning put a stop to my work, to my permit stuff because they have an investigation on me for running a commercial kennel. So all my stuff that I'm paid for is just sitting there. I can't put my dogs in a secure area. And I'm being accused false allegations of running a commercial kennel after I produce plenty of evidence and testimony, and I have a witness here as well. They'll testify the same, that one that wrote the letter. Everything I do on my property is for free, and all my dogs are my personal dogs. I'm certified 4 times over. I have over 18 years of experience within military and law enforcement canines. I don't do pet dogs unless I go to people's homes. All my dogs don't escape. My dogs run around just like animal control can tell you when they're on my property. They're on an e-collar, just like a dog with a e-collar fence, right? Which the neighbors from on the other side, their dogs break the collar and run to my house all the time. I don't call animal control, but that's just me. So all my dogs are contained, and the whole purpose of me wanting my kennels is just to house and secure my dogs in a better fashion so they don't affect the community. So I said, okay, if you want me to apply for BZA again, I said I'll apply, except now the rules have changed, so it's 5 acres, so now I had to ask for that variance, which I wouldn't have had to have in the beginning, so that puts me in a bad predicament, right, because then it goes against me, right? So, but if I already have emails and evidence stating that back when I first applied, why should I have to go through the process, right? I don't understand it, but like I said, I always try to comply with everybody. I try to do everything by the book. I mean, and all they have is false accusations against me. That's it. So I don't know. So we're here.
Okay. Any questions of anyone in the audience of his testimony? Please go to the microphone. Name, address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
My name is Renee Brewer, B-R-E-W-E-R. I have recently retired from 31 years of preschool. I live at 1305 Pinch Valley Road, so I'm right adjacent from him. I would like to know when you came to my house and asked me about dogs barking or any issue in our neighborhood. That's my first question.
It wasn't me. I said my wife went and talked to the neighbors to ensure that the dogs weren't barking. I went over to the other neighbors when I was training because they live right next to me, and I told them we were going to be having law enforcement in a big training seminar, and just to let them know, and they said no problem.
There was an attack dog training in his front yard, which I did not know until I came home that day from working still, and was very surprised to see a situation like that in a front yard, right across.
And that's testimony.
I understand
So-
that,
so
but I would like to
question-
know, he's saying that, these dogs were, he doesn't train them out.
Question is of his testimony. You'll
Okay.
have the opportunity
Okay,
for
I
your own
understand
testimony,
that,
I
but I would
promise
like
you.
to know, if these trainings will continue and if we will be, notified of these trainings in writing.
Yeah, of course I can provide. I can come up to you and tell you. I can put it in writing. That I do the training on my property. The dogs are under control, under an e-collar. They're not going anywhere. They're well trained and they're certified in that as well as well as myself being certified as a canine officer. And they're not attack dogs. They're apprehension dogs.
Okay, any other questions of the testimony? Board members, Mr. Colwell.
Actually, I'd like to get an opportunity to read the file before asking further questions.
Okay. And that's fine, we can do that. So after Mr. Colwell, reviews the file, he may have more questions, so we'll come back to him.
Can you tell me what an apprehensive dog is?
Yes, an apprehension dog is trained to apprehend a suspect, so it'll take, it goes, it bites the person, it holds them in place, and it waits for the handler to come to release the dog off the suspect who he's chasing.
And what would you categorize an attack dog?
An attack dog?
Is there such a thing? I mean, is that even a category?
Nope, no such thing, ma'am, that I'm aware of. I know there's a sport dog, which they do sport bite work, and we have apprehension for like military and police. And I don't train that for civilians. It's all law enforcement or military. All our detection dogs are single purpose. They're non-apprehension dogs. If they even learn any type of bite work, they're not allowed to do the job because we're in huge crowds and public.
And so are these dogs, do you have them as puppies and you train them from the beginning, or have they been somewhere else and then you retrain them?
So some of my dogs came from the academy when I went through training. They were already older. All I did was train them on the odor detection part, and some of them I raised. And as far as when I donate to PDs, what they are looking for are green dogs, is what it's called. And pretty much all I'm doing is raising the dog on environmentals. So like when it goes in public, it's not spooked of anything. In different environments, building up the ball drive and building up the hunt drive and building up the prey drive. We don't do any obedience, we don't do any bite work, we don't do anything. I'll raise the dog till about 12 months old, and then the PD will come, they'll take the dog, and the officer will go to a course for 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the PD, and then they'll either do single purpose or dual purpose. That's per the department what they're looking for in the dog.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Mr. Colwell?
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
There was a mention of use of firearms by Mr. Leister. Do you actually have operating?
We shoot simulation rounds, sir. It's not real live rounds.
But you do have firearms that are capable of firing live rounds, is that correct?
Not during I mean, the officers do, yeah. I don't shoot live. We don't shoot anything live when we're training.
Okay, that's not the question I asked. The question I asked is, do you have firearms that can fire live rounds?
Yes, sir.
You do, okay. How do the dogs, so the dogs are trained to detect
Yes, sir.
the firearms?
No, they're trained for gunpowder. Gunpowder and double-base smokeless powder.
So they can detect that. That's based on weapons that have been discharged, is that correct?
Right, yes, sir.
So can they detect on weapons that have been cleaned and so on?
Yes, because we train them on the lubes as well.
Okay.
Because every weapon has to get a certain lube.
So when you're conducting these trainings, are these firearms outside?
No, we only have a simulation rounds. I mean, the officers carry their weapons on them.
No, the question I ask is, when
No,
you're
I do
training the
not have-
dogs, is it done outside?
Is the training done outside? Yes, in my backyard.
Okay. Can I ask a question about the use in common driveway? Your house is on a driveway, common
Yes, a
driveway?
cul-de-sac.
How many other properties are on that driveway?
5 of us total, sir.
5. And who maintains it?
We maintain each our own. I don't understand the question.
Okay, well, let me come back to that. There's some, so there are 5 houses on there. I saw some hands go up at the back of the room. I'll ask questions when these folks have an opportunity to give their testimony. You just hang on a minute, please. Okay, so everybody shares in maintaining the common driveway.
Yeah, we share the main, it's like you drive in and then you go into people's separate driveways.
Is there a maintenance agreement among the
I
5?
didn't get any maintenance. I know the neighbor, he does the main road by him and by their other neighbors, but I do my own little driveway. No, I don't have any agreement with anybody.
Okay, I'll hold off on asking any further questions until I hear testimony from the public. Thank you.
Any other questions of his testimony? Mr. Simmons? That, that ship's already sailed, okay? You had your opportunity.
There's the maintenance agreement.
Okay, well, you can provide that as your own testimony. Okay. I'll allow it even though it's out of order. Go ahead and go to the microphone. Name, address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
Of course. My name is Jonathan Airy, A-I-R-E-Y. I live at 1307 Pench Valley Road, directly next door. I'm a police corporal with the Maryland Transportation Authority Police, where I've been for over 12 years.
Could you get a little bit closer to the microphone?
I apologize. I'm losing my voice. Which part would you like me to repeat?
Yes, please.
All right. My name is Jonathan Airy, A-I-R-E-Y. I live at 1307 Pinch Valley Road. My profession is I'm a police corporal with Maryland Transportation Authority Police. My question in related to his direct testimony was, you said that your dogs are secure, they never get loose. Has there ever been a situation where one of your working dogs has gotten loose?
They're loose when I'm around, yes, because I kept them under control.
So you're saying that none have ever gotten loose outside of your presence?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I've been around and they've been running around my front yard. I mean, my little bully might have ventured off into your yard, but not my working dogs.
Okay, I have some video to dispute that. I believe my wife did send it in, an incident, but it's not a question. And then my other question is, have you ever sustained injuries from any of your working canines that you work on your property?
Yes, I have. I've had 2 of my dogs get into a scuffle and I broke it up and the dog bit me while I was breaking it up.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, her hand was up first. Go ahead.
Do I need to restate my info?
Just go ahead and restate your name.
Jean DeCosmo. My question is, when it was made clear that a requirement for commercial license would be required, was there an attempt to look for an appropriate location where you could continue with your business?
Yeah, I'm always looking for a different location because I'm trying to keep the peace in the neighborhood. But again, I was told I don't need a commercial kennel because I don't run a commercial business.
Yes, sir. Go to the microphone. Name, address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
My name George Sidnor.
Whoa. Closer to the microphone or speak up.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right, my name George Sidnor. I work for a private truck driver what do you call it? I can't really tell you what I do, but I drive and I transport very secret stuff or whatever. My question for
And spell for the record your last name.
SYDNOR.
Okay. And what was your address again?
9127 Gross Mill Drive.
Okay.
My question for Mr. Belovsky, am I saying that right?
Boguslavsky.
How many of your working dogs play with kids in the community, or how does that go?
You say it again?
Do any of your dogs play with the kids in the community?
No, I don't really let the dogs interact other than my children.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else that you want to have testify on your behalf?
I got a few people.
Okay. Go ahead and call those to the microphone. Sir, you were not here to take the oath, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so go ahead and go to the microphone and stand and raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Name, address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
My name is Detective Tony Clark. I'm a police detective for the Baltimore City Police Department. My address is 3415 West Rogers Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21215.
And you were the author of one of the letters that was entered into evidence, Mr. Jackson shaking his head?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
So, I've known Michael Boguslavsky since 2022, 2020, I'm sorry. And since I've known him and trained with him, he has never exchanged U.S. currency with me or anybody else that we've trained with on his property or at his property. We've discussed a lot of times about the situations going on with the, I guess, the neighborhood. Michael has always tried to, you know, go by the rules and by the law of Carroll County. He's never had any issues where dogs were getting off the chain or they were roaming the neighborhood. He is, he's like he said, he has 18 years experience. I have about the same amount of experience in training dogs as well. And every time we go to train, the dogs are under control, and maintain a safe environment. Also, Michael has never used firearms that I've seen. When we were training, we always use odor detection devices, like we might use gunpowder inside of like a metal can, or we might use oil, like the lubes and all that type of stuff that you would use, but you would have it in a scent can. He's not using live firearms to do his training, well, at least since I was there. He's military, he's police, and he's very honest. He's never going to tell a lie. Even if it's going to hurt your feelings, he's going to tell you the truth, and he's going to be up front. We've had situations where we haven't agreed on certain trainings, not with like, you know, simple stuff like maybe obedience or scent detection, and he has more time doing that type of work. I do more obedience, so he tells me stuff, and even if I think I'm doing something right and he knows I'm doing it wrong, he's going to tell me the truth. I've never known Michael to lie or to not maintain his integrity. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can say. Only thing I can say is one of the most honest people that I know, and he keeps his dogs well maintained. And the people in his neighborhood and in the city of Carroll County should be lucky, or jurisdiction of Carroll County should be lucky to have somebody like Michael Boguslavsky, because he's training military, police dogs. If we didn't have these type of dogs around, we didn't have people like Michael around, we would have more serious and, you know, complications. We could have bombs going off, all types of stuff. With Michael doing it for the private sector, for the military, and for the police, I mean, and he's donating dogs to the police departments. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he might have donated a police dog to the Maryland Transportation Authority and Anne Arundel County Police. I know he's donated to several other cities as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark. Stay right there. Any questions anyone in the audience have of Mr. Clark's testimony? Go ahead.
Joyce King.
Yeah, go ahead. Go to the microphone. Go to the mic. You have to go to the microphone.
You want me to sit down?
Yeah, you can sit down for right now. Actually, just come to the table here and then you can ask any questions.
Sure.
I live right next door to this.
Okay,
school.
questions of Mr. Clark's testimony?
No one is here that I'm aware of that is trying to do anything about his character.
Okay, what's the question?
Well, are we here to make sure that he's a good person or something?
Questions of Mr. Clark's testimony?
I don't. The whole
Okay.
thing.
Any questions of Mr. Clark's testimony?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, have you only trained with him at his residence, or have you trained with him off-site as well?
We trained off-site as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Colwell?
No, no questions, sir.
Mr. Simmons? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, sir.
Any other witnesses?
I'm way shorter than this. Okay, my name is Anna Radel, and Elizabeth Radel, and of course I submitted a letter. I live at 483 Surrey Drive in Severna Park. I am the owner of Fieldstone Animal Inn. I've owned that facility for 20 years. We are an actual commercial kennel.
Can you spell for the record your last name?
Oh, I'm so sorry, I missed that. Radle.
Okay.
I'm not sure what was defined as commercial in this county for a kennel, but my commercial kennel, we have over 100 animals there. We are licensed, and we have dogs in and out all the time. They come for various reasons. Mike does not board his dogs there, and if that is the question here, that's another thing. But I wanted to just say that, I'm a certified professional animal care operator, and Mike's clients, what he does is if he has paying clients for training, he will come to our facility because we have 4 acres there, and we are allowed to do all of that training by our neighbors, which, by the way, is a residential area. And if he has boarding clients or daycare clients, he refers them to us. So I can speak to the fact that he does bring clients to us on a regular basis to do the things that are for profit or that he might make money, although a lot of them actually he volunteers for too. But anyway, I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding about the type of training he's doing, and that's not, I know that the barking seems to be the biggest issue. Inherently, dogs bark, and if you have another neighbor with 4 dogs, 4 German Shepherds or any other dog, they're going to bark also. I know that he does his training. Barking is an alert part of that. However, the work he does is so incredibly important, and I don't know that neighbors understand the type of dogs he's training. These are not fighting dogs. These are not sport dogs. These dogs save people's lives in the real place. So in real police situations, in real military situations. These are important dogs. He works as a detecting dog, uses his dogs for detecting. They are in very heavily crowded places, safely in there. They never, ever have incidents. So they are always under control. And if anyone understands, I think if there maybe what has not happened is an education of what type of dogs he's training. Because I think that does make a big difference about what he's doing and why he's doing it. And it makes sense to me where he's doing it, because this is a type of training that he needs to do regularly, multiple times a day, I would imagine. And so I just want to say that I've known Mike for probably at least 5 years, and the work he's done, the level of generosity, if you want to speak to his character, I don't know many people with higher, more honorable people that I've ever met. I'm just saying, if testimony, I would say that he's one of the most honorable people we have. He's incredibly generous with my clients, with my staff. So I couldn't say enough wonderful things about Michael. And I just want to say that I don't know where it would fall in place, but there needs to be an understanding about what he's doing and the reason for it. That's it.
Okay, any questions of her testimony? Go back to the microphone. Well, just stay there. Go ahead and ask, you can go to the microphone and ask.
Once again, Jonathan Airy, 1307 Pinch Valley Road. You stated that you do training work and you're approved for a commercial kennel at your location in, did you say Severna Park? Millersville. Okay, is that location in Carroll County, Maryland? Okay. And is that location your residence? Okay. Are you a resident of Carroll County? Okay. Have you spent any time living or staying in the area of Pinch Valley Road, the Laurel Woods community, or any of the surrounding adjacent roads? Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Any other questions of her testimony?
May I add to my testimony?
we'll allow you to do that later, okay? Board members, any questions of her testimony?
No questions.
I do have a question. You said you've known him for 5 years.
Go to the microphone. Thank you.
Where was he training prior to 3 years? Because he's only been here for 3 years.
Right, so he had a job for a security company, and I think that they had some property that he did that, but he trained full-time at Fieldstone before he moved to Westminster area. Because your guys are an hour away, it logistically became difficult for him to continue training at our facility, so he does it on weekends or evenings now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of her testimony?
Questions.
Okay, any more people want to provide, that you want to provide testimony on your behalf?
Yeah.
Do I have to state my name again?
Yeah, absolutely.
My name George. Sitting on 9127 Grassmill Drive.
Okay,
I've been on BOGO for about going on a year and some change. I met him because I had a dog. I met Tony first. Knew Tony first. I was training down in Baltimore City, and I had got my first dog because I had a little incident and somebody broke into my house. So met Tony, explained to him my situation. I got a dog. Dog was trash. Dog would not deter a cat from my house. So I wound up meeting BOGO. BOGO gave me a dog. I had him about 6-7 months. Didn't have no issues. So that dog stays home with my girlfriend as of right now. I drive trucks, so I'm over the road. So he gave me another dog that I take on the road with me, and they pretty much protects me while I'm out on the road. It's a lot of weird stuff that goes on at them truck stops at night. If y'all know, you know. But man, he's a good guy. He taught me so much. And I train over there with him at the house. He don't charge me anything. And most of the time, you know, we may go out and train somewhere because, you know, my dog is not used to want to be at somebody's house, you know. But the dog to be in the truck. My house dog, I take him over there, leave him with him. He'll, you know, do a few things, and I get the dog back. But overall, he's a good guy. He's like my uncle. That's Uncle BOGO to me. But he's a good guy. I mean, I ain't got nothing bad to say about him. I think y'all should approve him or work with him or some guidelines or something. I think people don't look at the bigger picture. Everybody's so closed-minded to the situation. And, you know, everybody has their hobbies and their things that they like to do. I feel as though, you know, it's things that they may like. All of them may not be the right thing, but I feel like everybody should be able to be worked with and given guidelines to be better. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I ain't got nothing else to say.
Okay, any questions of his testimony? Board members, any questions? Thank you very much. Any other people that you want to testify? Okay. Go ahead to the microphone. You know the drill. Name, address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
My name is Jody Bogoslavsky, and that's Jody Bogoslavski, 1309 Pinch Valley Road. Michael's my husband, and I'm a mother of 3. We have 3 boys. They're 3, 5, and 8. I'm sorry. They enjoy the freedom to run and play in our yard.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
And when we initially moved in, they played with all the neighbor kids. It was just a haven for them. Now they play with only one family at the end, and if Mrs. Joyce's grandson happens to be outside and my kids are home, they'll ask to play. And to my knowledge, there has never been any fear from any of the children that I know of. We are vigilant about keeping our children safe, and we have no reason to fear for their safety. In the morning, the children are picked up at the end of our driveway, and one of the letters on the opposing side mentioned there were parents that were afraid of their children because of our dogs. And we have a shared drive, which is very long, but the parents at pickup in the morning time are at the very end. And there has never been a time that Mike's dogs has gotten loose. It's never been a threat to attack a child. To be honest, I'm not really a dog person, but myself, and I wouldn't want my own children to be in a situation that would cause them harm, or any child. And I can say that I feel completely safe with how Mike handles the dogs. He has a love for what he does. He is we've both been, I feel, very respectful with our neighbors. With the barking, we get it. Nobody wants to hear barking all the time. He purchased barking collars for his dogs, and usually they're on the dogs 24/7, so much so that they have burn marks sometimes because of how often they wear them. So I just want you all to know that it's not like a reckless, stinky, dirty place that it sounds like based off those emails that we live in. We are proud people. We love our community. We love our children. We take care of our animals. And I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask or not, but I would really be interested to know if any of those, or how many of those emails that were sent in, did they live on our street? I know Miss Joyce sent one, Miss Renee sent one, obviously the Aries, those three. But of all those emails, how many people live on our street? There are other homes with dogs. There was another kennel not 5 minutes from our home. We have barking dogs. Animal control has come to our home numerous times. It's public information. They've come because the Aries have called them over 17 times, which, fine. But whenever they've called, they've told, we can't do anything because they didn't come like right in. They waited, they held back, and then they waited to see if there was any noise. They didn't hear anything. So I just wanted to make sure you all had a full picture given from a wife and a mother and someone who is also in this situation. Thank you.
Wait a minute, stay right there. Stay there. Any questions of her testimony? Board members? Very good.
Thank you.
We're going to take about a 5-minute break right now. Call the BZA hearing back to order. Mr. Clark, you said you wanted to provide additional testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. And then we have, after the review of the file, there's a couple of questions that have been generated from Mr. Boguslavsky's, as a result of his testimony. So, Mr. Clark.
Detective Tony Clark, Baltimore City Police Department, live at 3415 West Rogers Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21215. One thing I forgot to mention, I've been to Mike's house, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 times. Every time I've been there, I haven't heard too much barking. So normally when I come there, he does have this one dog that does bark, but he puts the dog at the far corner of the residence. I believe it's like 3 acres, and he has the dog all the way in the back. And if I can be quite frank, when you hear the dog bark, it's like, huh, huh, huh. Because most of the training we do is at the front of the property, right? So when you hear that dog bark, you can't even hardly hear it. So when I come there, he has, I don't know, 8 to 10 dogs. You don't hear those dogs barking. So I don't personally go into his garage or anything like that, because when people, like, when you have dogs, that amount of dogs, 'cause I have quite a few dogs myself, when you have those type of dogs and that amount of dogs, the only time that they really bark is if they hear somebody's voice that they don't recognize. And sometimes when you're starting to feed them, so you gotta start feeding the dogs, they maybe start to bark then. I've been there several times where Mike actually feeds his dogs, and they don't even bark when he's feeding them. So my dogs bark like crazy, and I live in a city, and I live in Baltimore City, where I have people that live directly next to me on both sides, and I have about 6 dogs, and not only that, my backyard is nowhere near even an acre, and I have no complaints in my neighborhood. When you come to Mike's house, you barely hear any barking. So, and it doesn't smell. So me personally, if I live in that neighborhood, the one issue I would have, and I think anybody would have, is if the dogs are causing a odor, or if the dogs are causing loud noise, right? If they were causing loud noise like that all the time, then they would be calling every day. So if they're not calling animal control and police every day, then it got to be sometimes when they're not making that much noise. So me personally, when I go there, like I said, I've been there 15 to 20 times, and I've only heard one dog bark, unless, now sometimes if we training, sometimes dogs might bark, but to be honest with you, it's only one dog, and that dog that I've heard barking is at the far edge of the property, away from the residents, the neighbors, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone in the audience have any questions on Mr. Clark's testimony? Go ahead. What, no, go to the microphone. We need every one of your words recorded.
So if the dog is enough to annoy him to put it at the other end of his property, then it must be.
What's the question?
The question is, if the dog is annoying him enough to put it at the other end of his property, then how does he think it doesn't affect anybody else? Because he lives up high on the hill, sound carries downhill. There's people who live below him. The corner of the property that he is talking about is 200 feet away from my house. The sound comes right down to my house. So he got the dogs
Okay,
away
this
from.
is testimony. What is the
Right.
question? I'm sorry.
The question is why.
Mr. Leister, I can guarantee you have the opportunity for your own testimony.
So the question is, why are you putting that noisy dog away from your house? Is it bothering you?
And Mr. Clark, that question is directed to you, and if you don't know the answer, you simply state.
So is that dog bothering you?
The dog's barks doesn't bother me.
Right, because
I don't live in the neighborhood.
it ain't with the rest of the dogs.
I don't live in the neighborhood, but when he's putting his dogs out, he has to put them out and place them in areas where they can't, so they can't reach each other or get tangled up in their leashes or chains or whatever he has them, tied down to. So if I have issues with my neighbors, right? Now, I can't account for where everybody live at because I don't live in their neighborhood, but if I have issues with my neighbors, and they saying I have a dog that barks, and one of my dogs might bark a little bit more than the other ones, then I'm gonna place that dog further away from the homes. Now, it may be unfortunate that the dog might be closer to your house, but like I said, when I come there, I'm outside with no obstructions. There's no buildings over top of me. I'm not inside of a vehicle. I'm out in the open air, just like, if you had people come to your house, I don't hear hardly any barking. When you're talking about 9 dogs, so you mean to tell me when somebody's Chihuahua or other, like a Cocker Spaniel or whatever, when their dogs bark, their dogs don't bother you? But just because he has a multitude of dogs, but only one dog is barking, that dog bothers you. I don't understand.
I understand.
I don't.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Clark's additional testimony?
Mr. Clark, just to
Oh,
verify.
wait a minute, I'm sorry, I did not see your hand up. Please go to the microphone, state your name, address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
Sure. My name's Jennifer Airy, Airey, and I am at 1307 Pinch Valley Road, and I am a software developer. So my question is, this annoying dog in question, are you saying that he is placing it farther from his property and closer to neighbors' property?
No.
Ma'am, I don't live there, so I'm not sure. I can't answer that question. The only thing I can tell you is that when I come to that neighborhood, your neighborhood is very nice and your neighborhood is very quiet. And when I come to that neighborhood, I don't hear anybody's dogs barking, to be honest with you. Now, like I said, a couple of times that I've been there, there was one dog that might have barked, but like I said, you can hardly hear the dog. And I'm outside, like, if you live in a house, like in my neighborhood, you gotta think, I live in Baltimore City, we have probably 20, 30 houses on the block. Maybe out of those 20 or 30 houses, we have 15 dogs, right? You have dogs that's outside at nighttime barking, you have dogs outside in the daytime that's barking, right? I'm not gonna, every time I hear a dog bark, go and bother my neighbors and say, hey, your dog is barking. Now, if it's yeah, for hours, that would make me upset. And if it was my dog that was doing it, I would do something about it. Just like Mike's wife testified, and just like he testified too, that they got bark collars for the dog. So maybe at that time when that one dog was outside, they didn't have the bark collars, and I think that may have been the case. But once he got the bark collars, I came there, I haven't heard any dogs barking. So I don't understand what the problem is. There's no smell and there's no sound. He has the amount of dogs that the jurisdiction allows. So to me, it sounds like harassment. Now, I'm just saying, because like I said, I live where it's 20 to 30 houses. We live directly next to each other. Our walls share each other's walls. And I have 6 dogs. And my dogs bark, and I go to my neighbor and I say, I'm sorry about last night. One of the dogs pooped in the cage. I had to clean out and the dogs was barking. My neighbor that lived directly next door to me says, I ain't hear anything. Everything's fine. So how can it be that one dog that's barking in the neighborhood bothers every dog, every neighbor in the neighborhood? Why are y'all ganging up on them when I'm sure that all of y'all have dogs too?
How can you comment on the placement of the dogs if you say that you don't know how close they are to other properties?
Like I said before, I'm outside. When you hear the dogs barking, you're hearing the dog inside the house, correct?
We hear it both inside and outside.
Okay. So, all right, it's normal for dogs to bark. So are you trying to say that Michael can't own dogs because they bark? One dog. You have video of him with all 10 dogs barking at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, we'll see.
Thank you.
Well, like I said before, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little animated, but like I said before, when I come there, I don't hear any dogs barking, right? And where I live at, I live in the city where it's way more people, it's way more populated. If anything, people should be complaining on me, right? He lives in the open, he got 3 acres of land. You have one dog barking in 3 acres of land in this bar room. I don't understand that.
Board members, any questions?
No questions?
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Okay, we're going to make a departure because after reviewing the file, there's a couple of questions of previous testimony that we're going to get to. But in the meantime, there are some questions by board members that have been generated that Mr. Voigt needs to answer. So, Mr. Voigt, could you please come to the microphone? You want to get your code book out, Mr. Voigt, under definitions. And kennel, commercial kennel definitions. So what part of that, what, did that definition change?
No, the definition has not changed.
So it didn't change between, it didn't change prior to, when was that? I got this date written down somewhere. January 23.
No, the commercial kennel definition has not changed.
It has not changed. So what part of that definition do you contend that, what constitutes this as a commercial kennel, according to the definition?
According to the information that we found online, the breeding of more than 2 litters per year, the buying, letting for hire, training for free, or selling domestic household pets of any age, or boarding daily or overnight.
Okay, so, and what part of that definition is he in violation of? Did you?
As far as we can tell from the information we found online that was provided to us also, he violates all of it.
Okay, and based on the testimony that you've heard today, does that change your mind as far as his compliance with that definition?
No.
Okay. Mr. Caldwell.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Voigt. In the definition, it mentions letting for hire. How do you interpret that phrase?
Letting for hire, you own dogs, or you have dogs that you are hiring out to other companies or other people or whatever.
So according to Mr. Sorry, I'm just saying the applicant's testimony, he says that he is paid to use his dogs for locations for sniffing out bombs or other threats or whatever. So that following
Yes,
within
that
that
does follow.
definition? Thank you. I have another question, but it's not related to the definition here. It's concerning variance requirements.
Mm-hmm.
I did not find anything in the file about the variances sought. Are you able to provide that information?
They are referenced in the chart as referring to section 158.140, which is the distance certain businesses have to meet. And they are, I'm sorry, it's section 158.040. And in this, in the the chart refers to this section, that any uses or buildings subject to compliance with this section as referenced in the different sections of the code shall be located at least 200 feet from, and then it lists a whole, I won't say a whole lot, but it lists businesses which are required to meet certain setbacks. And in that, commercial kennels for more than 10 dogs and veterinary facilities in the Ag and Conservation District has to be at least 300 feet on lots greater than 3 acres, at least 300 feet from the residence.
Okay. Did you, in the application, receive any information about what variances would actually be required in the distances?
The number of variances?
Number of variances and their actual distances?
Yes, give me a second, let me find it.
Thank you.
Too many papers in here.
Can I say something while Jay's, just
Okay.
real quick, because I'm the one that helped Mr. Boguslavsky with all the variances.
Okay, Mr. Robinson, we need to swear you in.
Please do.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay,
My name is Scott Robinson. I'm the zoning inspector on this case. I am also the president of the Laurel Woods Association. That's the reason I have not been here, as to not present a conflict of interest for the case. But I was directly involved with figuring out the variances with Mr. Boguslavsky. So all those variances should be in that case file, because I'm the one that helped him with it.
so it should be in the
It
application.
should be an application, yes.
I apologize if I missed it.
Oh, no, I wanted to help clear this up, because I know exactly what they were, because I helped them with them. And variances could be very confusing, and that's why when Mr. Boguslavsky asked me, I said, I will assist you with this.
And it was 300 feet, Mr. Voigt said it was 300 feet from residences?
We have each address listed with the variance requested for each address.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
All right.
Wait a minute,
As long as,
any questions?
Do you happen to remember what they were?
there's a variance for each property that borders his property, and his property borders
This is the applications in the back.
not just the properties at Pinch Valley, but the properties on Laurel Lane that border him too. So there's approximately 7 or 8 properties that have variances on them.
How many properties?
There should be 7.
I found it.
You found it?
Finally, found it.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Voigt. Appreciate your patience.
Yep, that's it. These are the variances that
Right.
the board has.
We have the different addresses for each house. Listed on that, did you find it by any chance?
Not yet. Go ahead, please.
Okay. To 1307 Pinch Valley Road, a property line variance needed is 70 feet. 1305, it's needed to 24 feet. 1303, 166 feet, the property line variance needed is 34. 1431, it's 460 feet to the property line, no variance is needed. 1455, no variance was needed. For 10 or more dogs, then there's a different, like I say, different setback. And those variances are larger.
So there are three properties that require variances. Is that right?
If it's for 10 dogs or less, looks like 3 of them. For more than 10 dogs, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5, okay. And his application is for 10 or less, is that correct?
I don't remember what the application actually says for the hearing.
10 or less.
I found it. Oh, got it. Thank you, Mr. Bale.
And we have that in the
I
file.
just came down to do this, now I'm gonna leave again. I have to recuse myself from this.
Yeah.
I'm the president of their association.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. And we have located that in the file.
Okay.
Any other questions of Mr. Voigt?
Is it true to say that we also need a property area variance of 1.9
5 acres
acres?
to 3,
Because it's 3 acres.
correct.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Boyd, for the variances, just so I make sure I understand, is it from his property line or where he conducts his
If the
business?
application, once, as you say, is for 10 dogs or less, the distance required is 200 feet from the property line on lots less than 3 acres,
Okay.
or residential lots.
Okay, thank you.
One other question, Mr. Voigt. In the timeline, the applicant applied for the kennel license prior to the change in zoning codes, is that correct?
I don't know, this application, I don't know the date he actually applied for this application.
This,
The original application that he was refunded the $400.
Oh, okay, that one, that was prior to the code, and at that time, it was just, we took that all the animals were privately owned, therefore he didn't need to actually apply for a commercial kennel. And we didn't have any proof at that time of running a business at the property, so we took it as being private.
and that was December
dogs on the
17th,
property.
2021.
2021, okay. Thank you, Mr. Voigt, appreciate it.
Any other questions of Mr. Voigt? Thank you very much. Oh, you have a question of Mr. Voigt?
I do.
Okay.
Again, Anna Radle, R-A-D-L-E. My question is, because I'm not familiar with the codes, does his property and his setup allow and fit into the parameters that are required for this variance?
I don't quite understand the question.
Does he, I mean, from everything that you've read to us, does he qualify?
Well, that's up to the board to decide to grant the variances. They're the variances that we determined that he needed. It's up to the board to decide whether to grant them or not.
So, okay, I just want to
I can't
understand
make
if
a
he would
decision on
qualify for
whether-
what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I can't make that decision on whether he meets all the requirements. That's up to the board.
Yes, sir.
Anthony Jackson, Jackson. I live on 701 Monroe Street Northeast, Washington, D.C. My question is, could you define commercial kennel and Carroll Kennel for me one more time, please?
Commercial kennel is defined in section 158.002 of the Carroll County Code, states, any premises on which any person engages in the business of boarding, daily or overnight, breeding more than 2 litters per year, buying, letting for hire, training for a fee, or selling domestic household pets of any age.
Do you have any evidence of him training for a fee?
We do not look into his financial records, so no, we don't have any hard evidence showing that.
Do you have any evidence of him boarding other people's dogs for a fee?
Not that I know of, no.
Do you have evidence of him training for a fee?
We have him training dogs on the property.
For a fee?
Well, like I say, we don't dive into someone's finances, so I can't say whether he receives a fee or not.
So what is the difference of what happened when he initially applied to cause it to go from private dogs to business?
The evidence that was presented to us and provided to us by various sources indicated that there was a business being run there.
Can the evidence be verified?
We have screenshots off the internet of different things that refers to the business being run from the property.
Do these screenshots show that he is accepting money?
It did. It showed that his income was 1 to 1.5 million. I'm just telling you what it shows.
Fair enough. And again, are these sources credible? Were you able to actually speak to any of these people and verify any of this so-called evidence?
Other than the fact that it was presented to us and that it came off the internet, no.
And could you repeat for me one more time what you say in the definition of commercial kennel, which part of that definition he violated specifically?
Training for a fee. It also appears from one that he is breeding dogs for use.
You just said training for a fee, but you don't look into his financials, so how do you know he was training for a fee?
We assume that someone is running a business, which is listed, I can't quite remember the name of it, here it is, Frontline K9, with company information of 4 employees, being in business up 2 years, an annual revenue of 1 to 2.5 million, listed, indicates to me that there is a business being run at 1309 Prince Valley Road.
But it's still an assumption. You have no verifiable evidence.
We don't subpoena or dive into people's personal finances.
That's all I have.
Any other questions on Mr. Voigt's testimony? Go ahead, go to the microphone. Please identify yourself.
Where did you get your information from? What website did you get that we have $1.5 million that we've made there as a business? Because
This was a website apparently The address was Profile Info Free, ComBiz, Maryland, Westminster.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
It's profile.infofree.com, businesses, B-I-Z, Maryland, M-D, Westminster.
We're not associated or have any idea what that website is. We don't have $1.5 million. And
Well, I'm not, like I say, that's the information that we found and was
if
provided
this,
to us.
how is he able to submit information that's incorrect? How is he able to bring information like this to this court and it's not even verifiable? We have no idea what this
We'll make that
is.
determination, okay?
Mr. Voigt, may I just verify? So if you look up Frontline Canine, which is a business, it's an LLC, correct? And that's a business. It's registered at that address.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Also, and once again, I'd have to find the piece of paper that has a statement on it of what the business is for.
Any other questions of Mr. Voigt? Go to the microphone, Mr. Clark.
If Michael Boguslavsky has a business, right?
Okay, now the question.
I'm sorry.
Mr.
Mr.
Voigt.
Voigt, if he has a business, right? He's running a business, the LLC, but his business is primarily mobile, where he actually does his business off of the property. By him using his address, is it simply is that he just has the wrong address? Could he use a P.O. box since he's not actually using his business at that location? Yes, he's housing the dogs there, but he's not actually performing the task at hand that he does for detection and apprehension dogs. Does he just need to change the business address to a P.O. box?
That's not for me to say.
Okay. That was my only question.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Board members, any questions?
No further questions there.
Okay, we're going to revert back after review of the file. So there are some questions of Mr. Boguslavsky's testimony. Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, could you answer the questions, the following questions? How do you deal with cleanup of animal waste?
I power wash my kennels twice a day. I have a separate bucket where I put the feces, and I bag it up and I take it to the dump once a week to make sure there's no feces laying around. And then summertime, I have fly traps out. Like I said, I continuously power wash everything, bleach. Yeah, my wife's huge on me even smelling like a dog, so never mind trying to make sure everything's good outside.
Okay, thank you. Next question. When you have training events there, what's the number of vehicles you have parked?
Maybe 5 at most, 6.
And they're actually on your property?
On my property, yeah.
Okay. Does any training take place on the use in common driveway?
I train my personal dogs on, well, yeah, it's on, I guess, the adjoining, on the whole driveway. Sometimes, like my puppies and stuff.
Yeah. When did you begin operating your business in terms of providing your dogs for bomb sniffing and so on?
2018, when I was still living in Baltimore.
And you've done it from this location as well?
Yeah, raised dogs for the PD, yeah. Green dogs that I donate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the question was asked about the LLC, In the research, we found that Mr. Boguslavsky is the resident agent for Frontline Canine LLC, a company formed for the purpose of, among other things, engaging in the business of dog obedience training, boarding training, doggy daycare, boarding and breeding of dogs. That's what the business was registered for as the LLC.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We heard a lot about barking collars. When did you start using barking collars on the dogs?
Once animal control came and told me they had an issue with noise, until then I didn't know because nobody told me anything.
And do you know what that date was? I probably got it.
I don't remember, sir.
20,
But yeah, they told me
well, both in 21 and 22, there were complaints.
It was 22.
22, 7/12/22. And you've employed barking collars ever since that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So are you done with your witnesses now?
I think so.
Okay, very good. Now, as advertised and as promised, this is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to give their own testimony. So in an orderly fashion, go ahead and one at a time, go to the microphone, state your name, address, occupation, and spell for the record your last name.
Excuse me, sir.
Mr. Clark? Yeah, absolutely. We won't detain you any longer.
Y'all have a good day.
Okay, so anyone in the audience can give their testimony. So go ahead. Open mic, guys.
Good morning. Once again, my name is Jonathan Airy. I live at 1307 Pinch Valley Road, directly next door. My profession is I'm a police corporal with Maryland Transportation Authority Police.
Would you ask the,
Could you speak up, please?
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I'll try to do the best I can to
It's better
project. I'll
if
just
you're
kind of
right
hold the
close to
microphone
mic.
up.
Thank you.
Do you need me to repeat anything?
Yes,
start over?
start over.
So my name is Jonathan Airy. I live at 1307 Pinch Valley Road, directly next door. My profession is I am a police corporal with Maryland Transportation Authority Police. I just wanted to kind of make a couple remarks. First of all, I wanted to say that no one here, at least not to my knowledge and not me personally, is against the police, is against the military, is against the work that Mr. Boguslavsky does, okay? Our concern is how this work being done directly in our community impacts us. I'm a direct resident, next door. As you can see in the variances, you would have to grant 70 feet closer to my property line for it to be within compliance. I have 3 small children, 7, 5, and 2, who play outside in the yard. There is no significant barrier between the property. There's a short fence that, any dog could jump in without even trying. There are a number of working dogs being trained on this property. I think a lot of the debate we've heard today, or a lot of the evidence and testimony we've heard today, is about semantics of whether it's for a fee or whether he's making a profit off it and when things are donated. But these are professional working dogs, okay? In my experience in law enforcement and my experience in the public and even having pets and stuff, working dogs aren't pets, okay? They're faster, stronger, more agile. They can jump and scale things. They can bite. They can do damage. They can hurt people. I have legitimate concerns. I fear for my children's safety every day when they play outside. They play outside less and less unless I or my wife or someone can be out there for their safety. I mean, this is just feet away from where they play soccer and they run and they ride their scooters. You know, I have some photos. I don't know if I'm allowed to introduce them to evidence. They're just photos that I took from my mailbox right next door of Mr. Boguslavsky's work vehicle. It's several warning signs on his vehicle about working canines, dogs will bite, do not approach. Caution, working canine, stay back. Canine, he bites, on board. And possibly most disturbing, the violent rhetoric, talk shit, get bit. These signs are displayed openly, and I have concerns about my children's safety. As in his own testimony, he stated that he was injured by his own dogs breaking up a fight between them. Well, what if he's not there and God forbid something happens? I have small children. I don't feel like they're safe there in that distance. I support all the work that people do for search and rescue and police work and bomb detection. I do, but not being done directly in a residential community without adequate space for safety of children. And I also have concerns that if this is approved, I have no options. I have no recourse. I have nowhere to go. If this is approved, you're going to build a large and obvious kennel, which is going to damage my property value. I couldn't even leave because I couldn't even recoup the value of my home. I poured my blood, sweat, and tears and life savings into this home, and I don't feel safe there. My family doesn't feel safe there. I will say that we tried to follow the proper channels too. We contacted animal control numerous times about barking. We sent dozens and dozens of hours of footage of barking, just simply picked up from our Ring doorbell. We didn't set up any special detection devices. It was just a basic Ring video doorbell. Picked up hours and hours of barking. Animal control refused to do anything about the problem. After many, many calls with them, they basically suggested that we try to take legal action ourselves on our own behalf. And I'm not going to file suit against my neighbor for it. I just felt like animal control should do something about it. Now, since then, in the recent months, I will say, like over the past probably 5 or 6 months, the barking noise has been significantly lessened. It's not completely gone, but it has been significantly lessened. But that does nothing to mitigate my concerns for the safety of my family, the value of my property, the overuse of the shared driveway. Our shared driveway is shared by all the homeowners, the 5 homes that share it, and there is an agreement in place, and I believe one of my neighbors has that written agreement with her, and she'll present that. But I just have real concerns about the training that's taking place there, the safety concerns it presents, the possible damages to my property value, and my peace of mind and safety here in my community. All the witnesses just about who have testified, other than his own wife, are people who live in Baltimore City, Washington, D.C., Anne Arundel County, jurisdictions nowhere near here who are not impacted by this. This decision significantly impacts my daily life, my happiness, my property value, and my own peace of mind. So I just want you to consider that, and please rule with common sense today.
Okay, stay at the microphone. Sure. Any questions of Mr. Aries' testimony? Mr. Jackson.
Anthony Jackson, 701 Monroe Street, Northeast, Washington, D.C., 20017. My question is, how many years of experience do you have working with military working dogs or police working dogs?
Working specifically with police and military working dogs.
As in, like, how many years as a handler do you have?
I'm not a canine handler.
Okay. So it's safe to say that you don't really know what the training of the dogs consists of, correct?
I do not know the details of how to train a canine, no.
But you've observed working police dogs out and about, right?
I have. In my professional capacity, I've seen canines being trained professionally by other law enforcement officers, and I've also seen what appears to be, to my obviously untrained eye, canine training occurring right next door, just feet away from my own home.
Have you ever witnessed one of your fellow police officer, canine handlers, their dog accidentally biting somebody?
I have not, no.
Wouldn't it be safe to say that they have very great control of their dog, and when they do bite, that whenever they give a command, they'll release it immediately?
I do not have enough, information to know that, no.
So, what about the dogs currently? Like, what would make you, quote unquote, feel safe with the dogs around? What would make you feel safe?
No bite-trained animals immediately in the vicinity, and no training of that sort happening next to the home where my children play.
And then what is your actual biggest concern about if this gets approved?
It's more than one concern. My main concern.
I said your biggest.
Oh, my biggest concern is
Yes, sir.
the safety of my children should an animal get loose. I have seen with my own eyes my children and other children from the neighborhood, including Mr. Boguslavsky's children, running towards my home, coming up onto my porch screaming, "One of the dogs is loose, one of the dogs is loose, please come in, let us in." I let them in the house, and there is video of this, which was sent to the board as one of the video clips that was sent from things captured on our Ring doorbell. So I know on at least one occasion a dog has gotten loose.
Gotcha. And have you ever approached Mr. Boguslavsky or his wife at any point in time to discuss all these concerns that you have?
Many months ago, I did approach Mr. Boguslavsky to inquire when I saw a tremendous amount of materials being delivered to his property, to inquire about what the plan was, what was going to happen with all the dogs.
I was asking your concerns about of your safety of your children. Did you ever talk to Mr. Boguslavsky about this?
No, I did not.
Is there a reason why you never spoke to him about it, or where you guys could come up with an agreement?
No, I feel as though there are, the county has obviously ordinances and laws and things in place that should protect me as a homeowner. I shouldn't have to negotiate my own peace and safety.
Nobody said you had to negotiate, but would it be fair to say that it's easy to just go over and have a chat with your neighbor and ask him how to make it more safer for the children?
No.
And have your children played inside Mr. Boguslavsky's house with the dogs there?
They have played there in the past. I would say it's probably been over a year since that happened. On very rare occasions, we would allow them to go over there, but mainly they would play at our home and on our property.
And in any of those times, have your children come back home scared or terrified of the dogs?
They have come back home scared, yes.
Why were they scared? Did they tell you?
They told me they were scared of the dogs being loose. And my son was running and crying and couldn't sleep.
Were the dogs loose ever while your children were there?
While my children were where?
While your children were in Mr. Boguslavsky's home?
I don't believe that it was while they were in their home.
Say that one more time, please.
I don't believe it was while they were in their home.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Aries' testimony? Board members? Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, go ahead.
At what point were you aware of?
Identify yourself.
Sorry.
You don't have to spell it, we're okay.
Jody Boguslavsky. I'm Mike's wife. At what point were you aware of what Michael did for a profession?
Let him go to the microphone, step aside.
Very shortly after we moved in.
And then after we moved in, did our children play together?
Yes.
How many months or so would you say that our children played together freely until you began to have fear for their safety?
Several months, if not even years. There were, like I said, incidents that happened where dogs were running through and our children were running in fear. So after these incidents was when I would say that began to escalate.
And what specifically were those events that they were running in fear because I don't know of an event where my kids were, I know my son Jacob, he likes to, a dog is loose, a dog is loose, but in actuality, a dog is not loose. Have you experienced a time where one of Michael's working dogs was loose to make your children fear for their safety and in turn make you fear for their very lives?
Yes, as I stated, there was one incident. It is on video. I do not recall the exact date. It was probably close to a year ago that this occurred. When it happened, I saw several children, and the video will reflect this, running from the area of Mr. Boguslavsky's property where it meets mine towards my front porch, running and screaming for me to come let them in the house. And you can see a dog running, chasing behind. It appears to be one of his working dogs. I don't know what the resolution was after this. I let them in the home. When I saw that there was no dog anywhere left anymore, everyone cleared and returned to their homes. My children remained in theirs.
So you're saying after that incident happened, you were afraid, your kids were afraid, and you didn't you didn't call anyone to say, hey, you have a dog loose. Did you contact anyone? Did you contact Michael? Why?
I contacted animal control to notify them that there was a dog. My wife actually made the call, but they were contacted to notify them of a dog being loose.
Did you get a good picture of what the dog looked like?
Yes, it is on the camera, and the doorbell footage shown it was sent to the board.
Would it be possible for us to be able to confirm whether or not that is one of Michael's working dogs?
We don't have the ability to show that.
You don't have the ability to show it. Is it still going to be used to determine anything? We just want to confirm, like, so that we can be able to see what they saw on their Ring camera.
Pictures back here, but it's
Would it be just in the form of pictures? Because we don't have any thumb drive. We have,
Sure. So when my wife's letter was sent over, there were numerous photos. I don't believe there are still photos from that incident, but linked were all the files, video files, I believe audio files as well, from the doorbell. And there were links them sent in an email sent to Joe prior to this hearing.
but it's just links. It's just links referenced. There's no hard drive. We don't have the ability to show that.
It's about that.
Sorry, Mr. Airy, did you say that you no longer have those photos available for us to
The
view?
photos are here, but it didn't make reference to a video. There are photos, dogs in cages and somewhere in here.
I think it's up front of the folded section.
I think it's in the front.
Oh, it
Where
is?
the folded pages are.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. So that's the history, the prints. But the ones I saw, so that's the shared driveway.
We don't have the ability to pull those up since they're a link.
It was sent over digitally, and also I wanted to ask if you'd like me to pass the photos I referenced before forward.
Yes, if you'd like to enter those into evidence, go ahead and approach Mr. Dixon.
Sure.
And we will enter, he will label
And-
those and we'll enter those into evidence.
And sir, in reference to the video, my wife may be able to access the drive on her cellular phone. I don't know if that's useful to you, but there is copies of it were sent to the board digitally on a cloud file.
Individually, Mr. Dixon, or just as one group?
As a package.
as a packet?
They're photos of things on, I guess, the petitioner's work vehicles.
And we'll go ahead and accept that into evidence. Board members, any questions of Mr. Aries' testimony?
No questions.
I had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it can't be possible that it's another neighbor's dog that might have been running through the area, because I'm pretty sure the neighbors behind John's address have two Dutch Shepherds, which are working dog breeds, which constantly get loose because they have an electric fence which they break, and they run onto my property because of my dogs. And I've chased them off plenty of times because I was worried for my own kids. So is it possible that it's another dog, or how do I know it's my dog? You didn't even see a dog when you went out there.
I was not able to identify who the dog belonged to. All I can say was the direction it was coming from and the concerns that caused, knowing that there are dogs of that type there.
Correct, but you can't confirm that it's one of my dogs just because it came from my area, because we've had numerous loose dogs come into my area because of my dogs, right? So they attract dogs. That's just nature. So you can't 100% say, yes, that was one, because none of my dogs, and it would have, where did it go then? I didn't file an animal control missing dog report, and my dogs are pretty important to me, for me not to know that a dog got loose and disappeared somewhere.
Like I said, I cannot confirm the exact identity or ownership of that dog. All I can say is I can recall a specific incident.
A dog, okay, thank you.
Board members, questions of Mr. Aries' testimony? One question, can you hear, with the bark collars employed, can you hear any barking at all?
I do still hear some barking. Like I said, it is significantly reduced. The amount of dogs that are outside has been significantly reduced.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else, testimony? Ms. Brewer.
Pardon?
Ms. Brewer.
Yes, Renee Brewer, B-R-E-W-E-R. I live at 1305 Pinch Valley Road. Good morning, and I'd like to thank you for your time. I'm here, and I have a copy of the Common Drive Agreement that I would like to put into
Okay,
law.
and we'll accept that at the conclusion of your
Okay.
testimony.
Our common drive is 11 feet wide. Any vehicle that comes up is going to be meeting and either have to go into somebody else's yard or driveway. So this will start to erode on our yards. My husband takes great pride, as everybody in our neighborhood knows, in his lawn. This will not be acceptable. The existing property should not have to pay for additional vehicles that are going up and down this common drive and deteriorating it. The property at 1309 is not totally fenced in and should have at least a 6-foot fence completely around the property with any commercial kennels. Should this get approved, the county needs to let us know who is responsible for handling the noise complaints. For the past year and a half, the residents have had a lack of people addressing their complaints. I mean, I want to let you know this. I retired a year ago in order to help with the care of my dying mother, who passed away in July. I came home a broken woman from the care of my mother. I need peace and calm. This is not peace and calm in my neighborhood, from the noise and just how this is all going down. We have been there for over 26 years. The 5 years previous to that, my parents built that home. So I have been a part of this neighborhood for at least that long. It has been calm, tranquil, and that's why we are living there, because we chose to be someplace that is quiet and peaceful and community-oriented. That has left. So obviously you can tell that we are in opposition of any commercial kennels and any variances. And I thank you for your time. And I will be giving you the agreement.
Okay, just stay there at the microphone. And any questions? Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Anthony Jackson, 701 Monroe Street Northeast, Washington, D.C., 20017. I just want to clarify, your biggest concern is the noise and vehicles driving up and down the driveway, correct?
Well, my biggest concern also is that this will devalue my property. Yes, and I do not want people driving in my yard.
Okay, what evidence do you have that says that it will devalue your said property? Have you seen your property values go down currently?
There's not kennels that have been approved at this point.
But that doesn't answer my question. Have you seen your property value go down
I do
currently?
not go out, I'm not looking to sell my home at this moment.
So-
I am not looking to call in a realtor to ask the value of my home.
So why do you bring this up in this testimony?
Because, let's face it, you got a business in the neighborhood barking dogs, and this will.
Do you currently know the sound ordinance for Carroll County?
No, I do not.
So you don't know if he's violating that sound ordinance or not, for sure?
Well, I assure you, just this past weekend, I was in my attic bringing down Christmas items, and I heard dogs quite vividly barking.
And how many decibels exactly was that?
Sir, I don't have the mechanism to get that.
And was this during the day,
Yes,
middle
it
of the
was
night?
during the day.
So it's safe to assume that, because actually you don't know the sound ordinance, but I would like to assume that during the day, some level of noise is permitted, unless it goes up to a certain level, correct?
Well, you know what they say about assumption.
Well, do you feel like you're making an assumption right now?
No, I don't.
That's all I got.
Okay, why don't you come to the table here next to your husband? Then we don't have to play jockeying with the microphone.
Ms. Brewer, Mrs. Brewer, are you saying that there are cars that have been parked in your yard or in your driveway from
No,
our?
they're not parked in my driveway, but when cars go past each other, it's obvious that somebody has to go into somebody else's yard or back all the way down the common drive or go into a driveway.
So the cars are you saying the cars that are coming to our home because they're using the common driveway that goes past your home, that's an issue?
It very much has the potential. I mean, you know, I'm sure.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand. So then we can't, the potential to do what to the driveway? The paved driveway?
Well, there's the more use of the common drive is going to wear it down. There is people passing because of dogs, you know, clients coming into your home then would cause people to have to move over. And the only place to move over to is the yards, or having to back down the common drive, or get yourself to a point where you can go into somebody's driveway.
Has that happened, that someone has had to pass you in your car while you're trying to
Yes.
drive
Yes, yes, of course.
from our home?
I'm not going to just say from your home, but from anybody, from all homes.
So then everyone is using the common driveway to go and come. In that ordinance that you have, is there like a limit to how many guests you can have at your home?
No, there's no.
So then we can have people come to our home and you can have people come to your home and we can use the common driveway, correct?
Of course. But the more, this is a common drive for 5 homes. So you would think that 5 potential people having family come and visit, friends come and visit, deliveries is what is used for, not for a business. A business insinuates that there's going to be more traffic.
It's not.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of Ms. Brewer?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, the maintenance for the road, are all 5 homes?
Yes.
On that?
Yes.
So 1309 is responsible just as much as everyone else?
Yes.
Thank you.
I want to know when I signed that agreement.
Wait. No. Wait a minute.
What?
No, I'm just saying he's out of order right now. Questions of Ms. Brewer's testimony?
No questions.
Ms. Brewer, your emphasis was on the additional traffic on your cul-de-sac. Or you're using common driveway and cul-de-sac. How many additional trips would you estimate on a daily basis is there to using common driveway?
From their home?
Yes.
I can't say and first of all, let me explain. For the past year, I have been in Virginia caring for my mother, okay? So I can't talk to you about what's exactly happened in the past year as far as, things with that. Yes, my conversations with my husband, I can only say, things that he observed, and he goes off to work. People who are retired, which there are right now 2 retired people and a stay-at-home mom on our common drive. And I don't know the difference between a cul-de-sac and a common drive.
Well, it's usually common driveway with a cul-de-sac at the end. I misspoke.
Okay,
It's a
well,
cul-de-sac.
this is a common drive. So, I can't tell you that I see a vehicle every day, but I assure you there are additional trips. I do see other vehicles coming up and then stopping at their home. Probably, I would say every other day
Every other day.
at this point.
Okay. Sorry, that ship has sailed. It's our turn. Any other questions, board members, of Ms. Brewer's testimony?
Yes, I do have one. Ms. Brewer, where is your property related to
It's catty corner.
in terms of the common driveway? Are you at the beginning of the common driveway or the far end?
Well, we're kind of in the middle.
In the middle. Okay, that's fair enough. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Brewer.
Do you want the?
Yes, please. Bring those to Mr. Dixon. He will label those, and we will enter those into evidence and put them in the file. Okay, any other person? Okay, Ms. Airy.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Airy, A-I-R-E-Y, and I am at 1307 Pinch Valley Road, which is directly next door. I'm the last house on our common drive. So I had sent in a letter with photos on it. I urge you all to take a good look at those. They have all of the proof of like all these, trainings in our private, our common areas and stuff like that. So I think that the first thing I want to say is it is important to understand the nature of this kennel. We are not talking about pet dogs. We're talking about powerful canines who are of an aggressive nature, training to be used as weapons by law enforcement. Because of the nature of this business and kennel, we have serious safety concerns for our neighborhood, in addition to typical concerns one would have for having a kennel as their next door neighbor. Mr. Bogoslawski most often has his dogs unleashed and doing training on the, private driveway and on our property line. I usually have to try to drive around him and the canines just to enter or leave our home. I have pictures of that in the letter. This is also very intimidating to our guests. It is also intimidating to us, and we're not sure if he does it for that reason or if it's because his property is so heavily wooded, he doesn't have much room in his own yard, so he's pushed out into our common areas and towards our properties to do what he needs to do. Living so close to a kennel of canines, I always have to be on alert. I cannot simply just walk down my driveway to another neighbor's house. I can't just walk to my mailbox. I'm afraid for my kids to be outside. It takes one canine, one time, to get just a few feet away, to slip away from him to kill one of us. I can't describe how it feels to be playing soccer with my children in my own yard, and then to hear snarling and growling and glance over at your neighbor just a few feet away doing bite training with other people. It is something I don't know if you can understand unless you were in that spot to witness it. It's very disturbing in a residential neighborhood. I no longer can use our front door. We have to always exit through the garage. The front door is in such plain sight of the kennels and where he keeps his dogs, and even the garage, the sounds set the dogs off. So we do that for the community to try to cut down on all the barking. We have strangers coming and going constantly. They're shuffling around dogs. Even from the testimony that one of, Mr. Bogoslawski's witnesses had, he said he's been to the property 15 times. So that's 30 extra trips right there for just one person going for his business. Having strangers coming and going, especially when he has litters of puppies that he's selling or giving away, that's increasing the traffic. Our driveway is just not built for this, so there's not enough parking, which means that these customers are parking on our property, or they're kind of like boxing it in, making it difficult for us to leave our driveway to navigate around them. They also are bringing their dogs, into their cars, and that's like coming onto like our grass. So that is a big issue. We are all financially responsible for the wear and tear and the maintenance to our driveway, and all of these extra trips that a business is drawing in is adding to that wear and tear. Animal control has not done what they need to do. I've sent in many videos and all of our concerns, and they just keep putting it on zoning. And the last thing is this variance also devalues our property. The kennels are partially built right now, and the platform has been made, so it's very easy to see how clear the view of it will be from our house. I want to reference one of the pictures in my letter. You can see the platform and some of the kennels, and the picture was taken right from our front door and our front porch. So if you just look up our home, the market value is $600,000. We would have to find a buyer willing to pay that. That is also cool with having a plain view from the front porch of a massive commercial kennel structure that is very close by. They would have to be able to hear barking that echoes throughout our house. Our home is located extremely close to their property and where they keep their dogs. It's closer to our house than their own, so the barking can be heard throughout our whole home. They would also have to ride past dogs that are unleashed running around the front yard and the driveway to get to the house. And then also, because there is no privacy between our properties, they would also have to be okay with watching the maintenance that is done with a commercial kennel, such as Mr. Bogoslawski said, he power washes feces out of his garage and kennels onto the driveway. And it would just be very difficult for us to be able to actually sell our house and move away. Mr. Bogoslawski should have picked a larger and more secluded property to do the operations that he is currently doing and asking to continue to do. And that's all. Thanks for listening.
Okay, does anyone in the audience have any questions of Ms. Aries' testimony? Okay, Mr. Jackson.
All right, Anthony Jackson, 701 Monroe Street Northeast, Washington, D.C., 20017. basically, my question would be, how do you determine that these dogs are aggressive? What training do you have?
I could tell that they are aggressive by the training that I witness happening. I submitted photos of some of the bite training that's been done on the property.
But does bite training or apprehending a suspect mean aggression or aggressive? Does that define by aggressive?
Yes, to me it is. I mean, this is the thing. He is doing professional work in a residential neighborhood. I'm
And-
not supposed to be a judge of this type of thing.
And define professional work for me, please.
I mean, I don't know. He said
What
that
you think professional work is?
he has certifications to train dogs professionally, so I would consider that professional work. And the dogs that he trains, he uses for his business.
And is the training very controlled? Have you ever seen the training go out of control where Mr. Boguslavsky was frantic?
Yes.
When?
I mean, there's been times where I've submitted pictures of his injuries that he's obtained from his dogs.
Yes, I mean, that's bound to happen. But
Exactly.
Can
It's
you- can
bound
you-
to happen. And
can you explain when you saw Mr. Boguslavsky frantic? You haven't named a situation or what exactly happened.
so every day, Mr. Boguslavsky, well, just about every day, he is outside for a majority of the day training these dogs. I mean, it's constantly happening. And because our properties are so close, are you guys familiar with the way that our houses are? And like the...
Yes.
Made a site visit.
So it is not possible for me to turn a blind eye to this, even if I wanted to, because simply just opening my front door, I mean, we're right there. And the only part, so even though he has 3 acres, only like, I sent in an image where like it was measured, he has like maybe a little over an acre that's actually land that can be used, because the rest is so heavily wooded, he's not often able to actually go back there and use it. So that's why they're pushed so close to our property and our property line. And we're always, face to face with it all the time.
So you know for a fact that he can't use the wooded area.
I mean, I am assuming he can't because he is always out front. If he could use it, wouldn't you think that he would? Would you think
Again, the question was, do you know for a fact?
I mean, what I'm saying, all I can talk about is what I have observed. If you were able to use your wooded area, wouldn't it make more sense to use that instead of making your neighbors feel intimidated?
Don't you think the wooded area could sometimes potentially be used for training situations where they could hide different drugs or drug scents or sense of the weapons? Could that be possible?
I mean, I'm sure that he could, and I don't know why he doesn't train in the woods.
Are you for sure that you've never seen him train in the woods at all, ever?
I'm sure he does train in the woods sometimes.
So why are you saying that he doesn't use that wooded area if you
Because-
don't know for sure?
Because I'm saying that he should be using his area, not coming out onto our property lines, towards our property in our common driveway.
And-
We shouldn't be inconvenienced by his business like we
And
are.
has a dog ever approached you aggressively?
Yes.
When was this?
I mean, anytime if I used to walk past the house, that's why our children.
It approached you aggressively, like actually approached you, or you just saw the dog outside?
The dog, like if I go to the mailbox and I don't go in my car to get it, there might be a dog that runs over. And
So there might be, you're just assuming that they are military working dogs, that they're aggressive and they're going to attack you on site.
well, no, but I do heed caution to all of the signs around about the dogs being able to bite and that they do bite. And I have gotten my mail before and been scared because dogs will run, along our fence and our property line, and it's very close to me, and I will not, go out there and see, oh, are they going to bite me today? I try to take every precaution I can to keep my family safe, and I truly believe that is why we have had no incidents so far, because I have been so diligent as a mother to keep my children safe and to do such thorough inspections to make sure that what is going on outside is not going to harm my family. and I should not have to do that at my own house.
Would it also be safe to say that due to Mr. Boguslavsky's training and ability to work with these dogs and ability to keep them obedient, that there's no incidents that ever happened?
Okay, so this is actually, I'm really glad you brought this up. So this is actually another concern that I have. So in his testimony, Mr. Boguslavsky has brought up how many dogs he is giving to all of these different agencies and different places and all of this. So if he owns these dogs personally, he's giving them away and then he's getting a new one in. Now, the ones that he's maybe had for a while, okay, maybe they are good, well-trained. These new dogs that he's just getting in, how do I know that he has full control over this dog? Should I even have to be the judge of that? Is that even fair as a neighbor that I should look at a dog and decide, is he aggressive? Does he have control of him? Is he a new dog? Has he been here a while? I just feel like none of these things should be something that as a resident homeowner, I should have to be responsible for a business.
And those are still all, like, you still actually didn't answer my question, but you know, you have zero training, you just assume, so it's safe to say that your assumption when you see one of these dogs, it's automatically aggressive. Is it fair to assume that these dogs are aggressive based on the breed or based on, because some of them just sniff drugs or bombs?
I am saying that the dogs are aggressive because of the bumper stickers displayed on the vehicle saying that the dogs bite.
So you're saying that the bumper stickers define Mr. Boguslavsky's work and what he does with his dogs?
No, I also am basing it off of the training that I have seen with my own eyes of the dogs biting him, biting each other, playing around, the training that he is doing. All of these things collectively I use to make that.
But isn't, because he's training these dogs, they're supposed to bite him with the bite sleeve on? I mean, I think, isn't that supposed to happen based on best of your knowledge?
No, this should not be happening so close to my residential property.
No, again, that's not the question. The question was, because he's training these dogs, he has a bite sleeve. Aren't the dogs supposed to bite that bite sleeve rather than his hand or his face?
Wait, what?
Are the dogs supposed to bite that bite sleeve or not?
I mean, I don't know. All I see is a dog biting someone.
No, so you're saying that you don't know what's going on. You're just making assumptions, correct?
No, what I see going on is I hear dogs growling, snarling. I see them biting someone. Those are things that I see. I shouldn't have to know or be involved in what type of training he's doing. It's just not something that I should be exposed to as a neighbor.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Good. All right, my first question.
Wait, Mr. Derry, go back. And
My first question was, you were saying about the in plain view before my stop work order. How do you even know with the plans that I wasn't going to put up a fence like the other neighbor suggested, so I can block the view to keep the noise down and insulate the area and keep the dogs more contained? How do you know my plans?
The part that I know is I can see the platform in which the kennels are going to be built on, and they're going to be very tall, and our porch is elevated up high so you can see directly into the yard. And it's only, I think it's going to be like 60 feet away. I think it's even less than a private kennel would be. So it's going to be a pretty big structure.
So again, you don't know my plans on how I was going to enclose the area so it wouldn't be visible to anybody. You're just assuming I was going to build it one way and don't even know what I was going to do.
No, I'm not assuming anything. What I'm saying is the way that our properties are, and because they are so close and the kennel will be so close, our porch is elevated, so we're up higher than the valley in which your property goes down, so it is visible.
Again, so you don't know my plans. I could build a structure around it where you can't see anything.
But I
you
would
don't
still
know
see the
that.
structure.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't see the kennels.
But
you wouldn't see the dogs. You'd just see a privacy fence.
But I would be able to see the kennels.
How do you know? You don't even know how tall I was going to build my fence. You're assuming.
Well, how tall are you going to build a fence? Will
That's
the fence
my
be built before the
business.
kennels?
I got put in a stop.
we're digressing here.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
my other thing
I mean,
is
these are
you're
semantics.
so vigilant on your kids that last month your youngest kid was in my driveway, in my grass, and on my front porch while I was out there with my kids, my wife, and my dog, and I had my kids bring your youngest child back to your house. That's how vigilant you are.
Okay, that's
My dogs don't
testimony.
get loose.
Questions
Thank you,
of her
sir.
testimony?
And this is also, this right here is a reason why we're unable to communicate with them as neighbors, because they are very, aggressive in their
Okay,
answers.
wait a minute. You're there to answer questions.
Okay, sorry. All right. Anything else?
Ms. Bogoslavsky, do you have legitimate questions of her testimony? I don't want this to get into a he said, she said about her testimony. Okay.
We good? Okay.
No.
Oh, you do? Okay. Do
Okay.
you want to go up there so we're not like shuffling?
Please go up next to your,
Well, but do you need it to be
yeah,
recorded?
go up there to
I
the
think
microphone
to
next to
record
your
it, you have
husband.
to speak in.
And speak to us, okay? Don't,
Oh, okay. Do you take your kids for walks?
No, I don't.
You've never taken your children?
I have in the past, but
Okay. In the past?
it is difficult.
In the past?
okay, let her answer the question.
I have in the past before I had concerns.
Before those concerns, would you go visit the gazebo?
Before I had concerns, yes.
And would you pass our home when you went to the gazebo?
I have to pass your home to do anything, to leave my home, period, because of the placement on the driveway.
But if you were so concerned with all of our barking dogs and how dangerous they are to the community, would you have brought your children and walked past our home without any protection?
So, yes, actually, one of the things that I do to keep my family safe is before any of us are allowed to exit our home, I do a full property search. I look around, I see what Mike's doing, what kind of training he's doing, what kind of dogs are loose, how many are loose, what's going on. I surveillance my area, and then if he, has them put away or he's not out there, he's out working a job, then I know it's safe to leave our home, and we can do things like take walks or whatever. If Mike and his business are not there, the safety concern is gone, and we're able to leave our home and do things like that. So yes,
Another question. Do you have toys in your front yard?
I do.
So it's safe to say that you feel comfortable enough for your children to play in your front yard?
So once again, the only time the children are allowed to play with toys in the front yard is after I do these property checks. They must be done. They know that they can't leave the house unless they are done. When Mike is not home or the dogs are put away or he's not actively doing training, then they may go outside and they may utilize those toys and our yard and our property. When he is there, they're not allowed to use them, no.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions of her testimony from anyone in the audience?
I have a question.
Okay, board members, Ms. Ford Mount.
Hi, I just wanted to ask quickly, when you say loose,
Mhm.
I want to verify, they're in the backyard, in the fence?
No, they are in the front yard, and so if you look at there are pictures in my,
I saw the ones out in
and
the
there's also
cul-de-sac.
other people's dogs and such that you can see. It's in our driveway. It's like right on our front property. Like a lot of times, like the concrete part in front of our house, like they're parking there and stuff, and the dogs are there and running around. It's the front area. What happens in the yard is not so much what I'm focusing on. I'm talking about the things happening in the front yard.
Okay.
That directly, that we have to pass by.
And these are the working, training dogs that are out front?
Yes.
These aren't just his own personal dogs?
These
the ones
are
that you-
working training dogs, yes.
Are they under control or are they out of control at that point?
I mean, I don't know. Some of the dogs appear to be well-trained, some of the ones that are newer, I mean, he's got like a leash on him, he's like grabbing him and doing stuff. I just don't feel that I'm qualified enough, and I shouldn't have to decide that as a neighbor. You know what I mean?
Mr. Colwell.
Thank you, Ms. Erie. Can you answer the following, please? Have you ever seen any training taking place on the Houston Common driveway?
Yes.
Okay.
I have also submitted photos.
Okay, have you ever seen vehicles associated with the applicant's house parked on the Houston Common driveway?
Yes, photos submitted.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Airy.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay,
Jean DeCosmo.
we
Right.
already got your
All
information.
right, great.
Could you spell your last name?
DECOSML.
COSMO.
DEDECOSMO.
You
Got
got it,
it?
Mr. Dixon?
Yes, I've got it.
I had it the first time.
Cosmo.
Go ahead.
Ready to go.
Mr. Cosmo.
All right. So my concern is about the safety and well-being of my community. I've lived in the adjacent Laurel Woods community for well over 25 years, moved from Baltimore City to provide a safe environment for my 3 daughters, happily raised them in this wonderful community, and now enjoying this same community with my grandchildren, most especially the outdoors. I think that one of the things that's really struck me during this hearing is that we've heard a lot about the character of the applicant, but I am stunned by the fact that the applicant knew that at 3 o'clock in the morning, numerous times in the past, before the collars were put on, there was noise, constant noise, barking, 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 incessant. My property, backyard, backs up to their property. So I am in direct earsight. During the pandemic, I'm a nurse. I work for a large healthcare enterprise, 10 hospitals across Maryland and DC, and I was sequestered to home like everyone else. Since that time, I have been able to continue to work virtually, and there were points in time during the cool months where I could not even open my doors. So our community decided to ask questions about what is going on, and that is when I believe that Mr. Robinson, our president, on our behalf, or other members who have also submitted emails and letters to this board today, started to make question and inquiry about what in the heck was going on in our community and why so much noise. So, okay, now maybe the barking collars are less. I also can share the concern about the common drive. My community is also maintained by the residents of this community that I live in. We have to pay for repairs. Our road right now is single lane, just like their lane is. And our road is in grave need of repair. And why haven't we gotten it repaired? Because it's probably about $30,000. And right now, we're not willing to impose on one another to get that done. And what has been the demise of that? Long-standing use, obviously, homes being built, just continued damage. So I share in the property owner's concern. In the past, I've been a realtor, and I literally, my first house, I sold right down the street from where this property is. And I can assure you that while I haven't done a market analysis of my property, if I was going to show a potential buyer a home in this area where it was known that the county permitted this type of business, it would be a deterrent. They would look elsewhere, especially if they had children, for safety, for noise, for all of the concerns that have been expressed. I'm concerned enough about the airport, yet to be concerned about dogs, regardless of the subject matter expertise, the sophistication of this gentleman's work with these animals. Every single person in this room, I was a trauma nurse at one time. Every single person in this room is well aware accidents happen. I don't want that to be with my granddaughter. I don't. I don't want it to be with my grandson. I don't want the woods that adjoin this applicant's backyard to be used for training purposes while my grandchildren are in my backyard playing. That is not what my husband and my sweat equity paid for. And I respectfully ask, while I have absolute high regard for this work, for the impact on society, I think it best that we all really appreciate what the impact is on our community that all of us have worked so hard to enjoy and have the livelihood and expectation of what a residential community means. It's not a business. It's not where guard dogs, whatever you want to use the term, it's not where I want to live. That's not what I sought out when I moved here for the safety and well-being of my family.
Okay, any questions of Mrs. DeCosmo's testimony? Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Anthony Jackson, 701 Monroe Street, Northeast, Washington, D.C. 20017. You said you're concerned about the safety and well-being of the community, correct?
That is correct.
So why is it that the first probably 60% of your testimony was on the barking rather than the safety?
Sir, first off, I do not want to feel as though you are fishing to get me riled in any way. I discussed the fact that the noise was initially an issue, and it was extremely disturbing to not only myself, but everyone in my community on my street. I secondly made significant comments related to the fact that I have grandchildren that stay with me, that enjoy the backyard with my daughters and family, and I am concerned that accidents happen. As a nurse who has seen it when no one expected it, or all safety precautions were put in place, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So you said accidents happen, correct? Is it safe to assume that your grandchildren could be hit by a car going down the driveway?
That is irrelevant, and I just refuse to be questioned like this. I hesitated even getting up here because of what I feel is hostility over here.
No, ma'am, it's not hostile. We just want to, figure out what your biggest concern is.
You could be
ma'am.
run over
Wait a minute,
leaving
wait a
this
minute,
building today.
Wait a minute. We are digressing.
We are,
Answer the questions.
yes.
Go ahead, ask your next question.
Again, I just want to know, you talked about safety and wellness, but your biggest concern was the noise. I just want to know
That is
where
not
does
correct.
safety, yes, well, okay. And then you talked about the property or the value of your property. Again, did you do the research? Do you know that your property value has already gone down?
Sir, as I stated, I have had a career in real estate, and can assure you that this would be a known situation to potential buyers, and it would be a deterrent.
That's your assumption, correct?
That is my experience showing homes, not only and selling right down the street, but around Carroll County.
What if you sold it to a special forces soldier who doesn't mind it? What would happen then?
That's a rhetorical. You don't need to answer that.
Gotcha. That's it for me.
Whoa, wait. Come to the microphone, and I'm going to give you a little latitude.
When Michael put on the bark collars, did you, since then, have you noticed a sound or noise reduction?
I did make a comment that the noise has been reduced, but my comment was about the very character of a neighbor that knowingly had for months barking dogs in all hours of the day and night.
Wait a minute.
That was my comment.
No. Answer the question, please. You went off on a diatribe. Please answer the question.
And what was the question?
When Michael put on the bark collars, did you notice a significant reduction?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, board members?
No questions.
Okay, anyone else want to provide testimony? Mr. Leister?
Name's James Leister, 1431 Pinch Valley Road.
We already got the rest of your information, and you just dropped the microphone.
I just want to say that I don't live on the common driveway, but I live property butting up to his property, and the noise that we hear with the dogs, it's been going on, but they put the shock collars on, and I still can hear dogs barking. And Another issue I have is with the simulated shooting with these dogs, and you don't know if it's a real gun or not a real gun, you know, because it still rattles the windows in your house. I couldn't imagine sharing a common driveway like the rest of the people do, because as long as I lived there hasn't been no inconveniences like this.
Okay, any questions of
Yep.
Mr. Leister's testimony? Yes, sir.
All right, so since the bark collars have been on, you still hear barking. Am I the only person in the neighborhood that has dogs?
They're your dogs,
How do you know?
because I can see 'em.
You can see through the woods. You can see my dogs barking.
I can see at the corner of the property. I can see your dogs.
No, you can't. Anyway, so when animal control, when I send them all the videos of all my dogs out there quiet, and there's dogs barking from your side of the street, and then on top of that, there's a shooting target range on one of your neighbor's property right next to you, which they shoot live rounds. So
Bow and arrow. He's not.
no, they're shooting firearms as well back there, sir.
He's shooting in bow and arrow.
Okay. So and so what? How did so and
Bow hunter. He don't shoot. He
right?
ain't shooting
So nobody
rifle.
shoots in the neighborhood. I got it.
Well, if he's shooting rifle, he is shooting when he's hunting. He's not shooting in his backyard.
Okay.
'Cause I would have said something to him.
Right, but you said, how do you know?
He hasn't been shooting.
And you said, how do you know that I am not shooting live rounds when I testified and told you it's simulation rounds? There's not even a round there's no round in there. It's just a shell with black powder. That makes the noise.
That's my point. The noise.
Okay, so
That's my point. The noise.
how often do you hear the shooting from me? I've done it twice since I lived there in 3 years. How often do you hear it?
That was enough.
Twice?
That was
Okay,
enough.
so
Yeah, because it shook the house.
it shook the house.
Windows in the house. Yes.
Okay. Right. That's all I got.
If it's shooting,
All I got.
if it's shooting however many grains of powder, it's still gonna make noise, whether it's got a live round in it or
So
it's
my
blank.
kids' pellet guns, I can't shoot either?
What's that?
I can't shoot my kids' pellet guns or air rifles?
No,
No, I'm
that
talking
had
about-
nothing to do with his
It's
testimony.
still a firearm. Whether it's
Okay,
shooting
any-
blanks or shooting live rounds, it's still a firearm.
Any other questions of
I
Mr.
don't
Leister's
know
testimony?
if you're shooting blanks or not. I'm taking your word for it.
Yeah,
But it
simulation.
doesn't matter if they're live or
Doesn't
blanks.
matter.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, Anthony Jackson. Have you actually saw the live fire training? Did you witness it? Did you view it? Did you watch it?
No, but he admitted to it.
But again, did you personally watch it? And can you verify the times that gunshots were made that it was Mr. Boguslavsky?
He admitted it to it twice.
Again, can you verify?
I don't have to verify.
Can you verify when gunshots are made?
Wait a minute, wait, stop. So, Mr. Leister, you did not witness it, is that what you're saying?
That's right. I did not
Okay,
witness it.
that's.
Gotcha. And can you verify for me that there are other people that shoot rifles within the woods within that area?
Can I verify people?
Do you know of other people that shoot in the woods within that area?
Down on a farm, yes.
And
Not in a residential area.
does that noise not bother you? But you can hear it. So does the noise not bother you?
It's not close to my house.
Gotcha. And
Not 200 feet away from my house.
what is your biggest concern about Mr. Boguslavsky having a kennel over there?
You got one, when you got more than one dog, once one dog barks, then the next dog barks. They see a deer, they bark. They see a human, they bark. They see a car, they bark. It's a chain reaction.
So
you talk about people, other people's dogs. They got 1, 2, 3 dogs. They are playing with their dogs. This is a residential area. They are playing with their dogs. They're not training their dogs.
But your concern is the noise level, correct?
And they're taking responsibility for.
Could you please answer my question, sir?
Answer the question.
All right. What's your question?
So your complaint is the noise levels, the barking dogs.
Yes.
So is it safe to say that you know for a fact every single time a dog barks, it's Mr. Boguslavsky's?
I know if I walk up to the corner of the property, one of them dogs is gonna bark.
Again, that's not the answer to my question. Do you know for a fact every time a dog barks that it's Mr. Boguslavsky's?
I know. Repeat this question again.
Do you know for a fact that whenever a dog barks that it's Mr. Boguslavsky's dog?
No.
Is it safe to say that the neighborhood has several dogs outside of Mr. Boguslavsky's dogs?
I don't think there's a whole lot of dogs in the neighborhood.
So you don't know
I
that,
don't see the dogs in the neighborhood when I drive through, so
but I mean, is it safe to assume that there's several dogs within that neighborhood, not just Mr. Boguslavsky's?
I have no idea who has dogs and who don't have dogs.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, board members, any questions?
No questions.
We're going to take about a 5-minute break. Call the BZA hearing back to order. Is there anyone else that wants to provide testimony?
Seeing none?
Okay, seeing none. Presentation of testimony and evidence is now closed and summations are in order. Mr. Jackson, or would you like to provide the closing comments?
Yes. So everybody, I just, I want everybody to understand what we're trying to do here. We do understand your concerns for safety. It's definitely on the tops of our minds, and don't think for a second that's not what Mr. Boguslavsky thinks about all the time, right? And he is willing to comply with any rules and regulation, and has consistently been trying to. And everybody has to understand the nature of dogs sometimes, right? Yes, they will bark, but he is going to do his best to try to mitigate that from happening. But you can't 100% keep dogs absolutely quiet. In that sense, that he does have a plan to build this kennel, and to make sure that it keeps the safety in mind of everybody here. He doesn't want your kids to get hurt just as much as you don't want your kids to get hurt, believe it or not. And yeah, he might be, a little rough around the edges, but I've known him for all these years, and I've actually watched this man, take a bullet for somebody else. And he is somebody that is a selfless person, and I promise you, he will do everything in his power to ensure that your children and your families are safe. That's kind of the biggest concerns I heard from you all, apart from what sounds like the property value and things of that nature, which are all unsubstantiated. And currently, he is, from what it looks like, there is no real violation of what Carroll County considers a commercial kennel currently, and he's applied for the license. When questioning Mr. Voigt, he really didn't seem to have the answer for a lot of things, but apart from some assumptions and things of that nature. I want you all to carefully consider this request for Mr. Boguslavsky. I really do think he is a great person in the community and will ensure the safety and well-being of this community.
Okay, the hearing and record of this case is now closed, and in accordance with the Open Meetings Act of Maryland, the board will now consider the case. Board members. Who's going first?
Me.
You want to go first?
You go first.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Mr. Caldwell.
I'm concerned about this in that there's, we have a lot of people from the community to come out and voice their concerns. Some of the things that struck me here was that some effort has been made to mitigate the noise, but it's not being very successful. But what really disturbs me was the use in common driveway. Having training out there, having your patrons park there, is in violation of the agreement. It says ingress, egress, access, and maintenance. It doesn't say anything about you're allowed to use it for your purposes. So your property clearly then is too small to handle the type of business that you're trying to run there, because if you're using the use in common driveway for training sessions or parking vehicles there, that's a real problem. Also, a large number of variances required for operating this business. We have variances of 70 feet, 24 feet, and 34 feet. That's with kennel, less than 10 dogs in the kennel, and the property area of almost 2 acres is too small for the definition of commercial kennel. It is a commercial kennel. You said yourself, as the applicant, that you do business there. You take your dogs to various locations, and you've been doing this for payment since 2018. So So that includes the time that you've presently occupied the premises. The concern I have for the neighbors who use that driveway, they can't walk down the Houston Common driveway to, to go to their mailbox without being concerned. You're dealing with dogs that I would consider not type of dog that would be in a usual commercial kennel, where they're breeding, pups for family pets. These are, as you've said, professional trained dogs, but they don't seem to be particularly well-trained. You've been bitten on one occasion. There's an accident bound to happen, as one of the residents has said, and I'm very concerned about that. Very concerned, because these are not just like, a regular bite. This is to me, is a dog that's going to cause significant damage, especially to children. And that really concerns me. The provisions of the code say, yes, he can do this in that space, but at this point in time, I'm leaning towards not approving the requested variances or the continuation of the use of that for that business.
Ms. Ford now.
I want to reiterate what Mr. Caldwell said, is that you are using that as a commercial kennel based on our code. And the way that you're doing that is because you house your animals there, but hire them out, that is causing you to fall into the commercial kennel. You don't have to meet all of the description, but you have to meet some of it, and you do. So to me, you are running a commercial kennel out of your home. I believe in the training. I know that concern and actuality sometimes are two different things. So I feel like the dogs, to me, are well-trained. I've been around police dogs. I've been around trained dogs. They're exceptionally well-trained. I'm sure that there is barking. Dogs bark. That's just it. Any dog can bite you. Any dog can bark. Any dog will bark. Unfortunately, because you have so many things that you have to meet to have a commercial kennel there, I have to lean toward not allowing it. The variances and then simply the acreage, it puts you in a very bad position with your neighbors to be able to conduct that business. The second that you file for a business, your intention is to make money with that business. There's no other reason to have one. I have 3 myself. I know if you file for an LLC, you have to make money at it. Someone has to pay you for your services. So having said all that, I do lean toward not allowing it in that location.
Mr. Simmons.
I find both comments interesting. I'm inclined to say this commercial kennel would be dangerous and unacceptable. That's enough.
Okay, I guess it's time for me.
It is.
So we have a request for a conditional use for a commercial kennel for 10 dogs or less and multiple variances. The variances are, we have a 3-acre lot, 3.1 acre lot, I think, was what was testified to, and it needs to be 5. And that regulation came about the beginning of this year. And there's a reason for that 5 acres, and it's because of the number of dogs. There is a distance requirement that would be needed on 7 properties according to what's in the file. 7 properties. 300 feet, I think, is what Mr. Voigt testified to, is what it is, and that would be on a 5-acre lot. There's too many variances that are requested here in this neighborhood. And I am not going to detract at all the work that is done with these dogs. It's phenomenal. I don't have that kind of patience. And they are part of public health and safety, the equation, and I think that's commendable. But the problem here is it's absolutely the right business in the wrong location. And that's what it comes down to. We heard a lot of emotional testimony, and that doesn't bear on me. We have the code to go by here. And what we have is, the legal issue is Schultz v. Pritz, and determine whether allowing a commercial kennel at this location will adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood more at this location than any other place in the ag district. And that has to go, and that, for example, noise, dust, traffic, and decreased property values. I just think at this location, unfortunately, with the testimony that we heard, we didn't hear anything about mitigating the possibility. We didn't hear any testimony about mitigating the possibility of dogs leaving off-site. And it's an absolute testament that they would have training in the front of the home where it's not fenced in. But I just think it's a very good project. It's not a project, it's amazing, but it's not in the right neighborhood. So with that, I'm chairman, I can't make a motion. I'll entertain a motion.
I can do one. In case number 6476 before the Board of Zoning Appeals, that the board deny the request for commercial kennel for 10 dogs or less and the multiple variances.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Then moved and second. Is there any discussion on the motion? And Mr. Dixon, is that motion inclusive enough from a legal standpoint?
I think so.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Our oral decision will become final upon a written decision which will be issued within 30 days unless otherwise extended by this board. The board's decision may be appealed by filing a petition for judicial review with the clerk of the circuit court in Carroll County in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 200, Title 7 of the Maryland Rules of Procedure. The appeal must be filed within 30 days of the date of this board's written decision. Thank you very much for your time.